Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If Guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Betrayed Issei Get Harem. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic.
Issei Hayato, the brown boy who was recognized in the underworld as a hero. That he was a student who led a normal life, the current Sekurite, and apart from that the pawn of Ria's Gremory. However, all that changed when that boy arrived. The members of the occult club were in Lhasa, where they always do their meetings, where they talked, had tea, ate sweets, the typical things they always did as a group, but none of them expected a certain maid movie Platinum to arrive at the club room. "Grafia, what are you doing here?" asked Ria, somewhat curious because she appeared without warning. "I wanted to let everyone know that a new member has just enrolled in the academy. Besides that, he is a demon, so I wanted to warn them to welcome him as he deserves." By saying this, Grafia surprises everyone and at the same time was very excited because a new member would join them. "A new student," said Rias, somewhat interested. Ara, I wonder how it will be," said Akino, who was with a smile as always. Everyone was chatting and arguing about who the new student would be until Rias Aujasama. "You'd better prepare yourself especially." Saying this, Grafia retires, leaving everyone with a big doubt in Rias, but there was someone who was a bit scared, and that was Issei, who apparently had a bad feeling. And things were about to get worse. By saying this, Issei begins to worry more and more, since he assumed that things were going to get not only difficult, if not impossible, for what was approaching. The members of the occult club were somewhat exalted but apparently acted so normal until the new student appeared. Rias talking to Akino, Asia, Zenovia, and Irina talking to each other. Kaneko eating some sweet, Gasper hidden in his box, Kiba standing there as if nothing, Rosswace a little nervous, and Ravel standing there also as if nothing was happening. However, Issei was a little nervous and was not very well to say. He had a lost look and expression of distrust, and not to mention that the head of Issei was already in disorder, since what Didrag told him did not help much to calm him. Kaneko was aware of how Issei was, since from the beginning they announced the demon would come to the academy. He saw how Issei was a little nervous, so he went to him to try to help him. "What happened, senpai?" said the little lolly-pelly Platina, to see the chestnut tremble a little. "No, nothing. I was just thinking about something is all," he said, this trying to calm Kaneko down so she doesn't worry. "I saw you a little nervous when they announced that a new boy would come to the academy." "Don't worry, Kaneko-chan. I am fine." "Well, but you better not fantasize," Kaneko said with a somewhat threatened tone that obviously only made the chestnut worry a lot more than he was already worried about. The boy again had a lost look, as if he were trying to look for something, but this lasted very little time because, "Good afternoon, especially you," Ria said. A boy with the characteristic uniform of the Kyo Academy. His appearance was very serene. He had straight dark brown hair and eyes of the same color, not to mention that he was somewhat taller than Issei. And this, when he saw the boy, began to clench his fists as a little out of desperation. "He has incredible power, partner. Keep your eyes open. Why do I have a hunch that something isn't right?" Our protagonist turned around to see Rias, who was completely perplexed and wide-eyed. "Tell me, do you remember me?" said the new brown boy, whose name was still unknown. "Already," Yamato replied. Rias impressed before the young man named Yamato, and besides, she was not the only one. The oldest members of the occult club, who were Akino, Kaneko, Gasper, and Kiba, were also just as surprised as Rias, and the chestnut was already completely scared. "Well, Rias, it's been a long time since we didn't see each other," Yamato said with a nostalgic touch in his voice. "I think the same. Yamato, I want to talk to you for a while." Akino, Kaneko, Yuuto, Gasper, come to the aforementioned, went to the club room, while the others were somewhat surprised because they apparently knew the boy. "That Issei-san?" Asia asked Issei, as he seemed to have a surprised face and seemed to be motionless. "I have a bad feeling," said the boy, trying to do his best not to get too bad. Change of scene, office of the occult club. Rias and her group were sitting on the couches of the club. Yamato was on the side of the wall, while Rias was on the side of the windows. "I'm glad to hear you're still alive. We thought you had. Well, I tried to say something so as not to say that I was dead." Apparently Yamato guessed the word that Rias tried not to say so that it did not sound so ugly. "The truth was going to say that we thought we lost you. I just can't believe it yet," Rias said with a formal towards Yamato. "Well, here I am, alive and kicking. Without any worries or anything," he said with a soft smile that made Rias smile too. "How many years have passed since you disappeared?" asked Rias with a tone of melancholy. 4 years. Keep score, he gave the answer to Rias' question. "The truth is that I miss you a lot. I really didn't think you'd still be alive. Since that mission was very dangerous. You didn't have to worry. You know I'm very strong. In addition, I needed to come back with you. Well, it was no surprise that you wanted to go back." Rias paused for a moment to say something. Yamato, I hope what Rias was going to say. "Since you're my boyfriend," she said with a smile. "Ex-boyfriend, since you apparently replaced me," Yamato said with a slight tone of contempt. Good me." At that answer, Rias became nervous until, "It seems that what Grafia told me is true." Suddenly appeared Surzech in his formal clothes. Oni Isama before the appearance of his older brother, who is one of the 4 Maoists. Rias was surprised, since he was not expected to come either. "I was told that Yamato was still alive, and when I heard him I couldn't believe it, so I came as fast as I could to corroborate what I had heard." "I'm glad you're alive," Yamato said the redhead while having a calm smile. I'm glad to see you, Surzech-sama, Yamato said with a smile, as did Surzech. Now that you're back, I guess you'll be back with Rias. Oni-sama, we have a problem. Yamato, could you please retire? Saying this, Yamato left the room for a while so that Rias could talk to the Mao. What's wrong, Rias? Asked Surzech, now serious. I don't know if I can do this. Technically I'm with Issei. I don't know if it would be fair to the Rias. Don't tell me you're going to choose between Issei-kun and Yamato, asked Akino, somewhat worried about this, and she wasn't the only one. All the others who were present began to be a little alarmed by what her mistress wanted to do. It is not the truth. I love Issei very much, but Yamato is my boyfriend. It wouldn't be fair to Issei. She was between a dilemma between who she should choose between the man she loves and her boyfriend. Listen, Rias, I'm sorry to tell you, but you'd have to throw Issei away, said the redhead, drawing everyone's attention. Why? Asked Rias, completely astonished at what her brother said. Vera's Rias. The Grenle clan will need someone and powerful, strong to lead it. And Yamato has been your boyfriend for 4 years, but of course Issei-kun does not know. In addition, Issei, despite being the Secretary, is not very strong to say. In saying this, the redhead began to think carefully about the issues and the reasons he gave her to get rid of Issei. Rias, no matter what happens, we will always be with you in everything, Akino said to try to encourage Rias to make the decision she thought was right. I think I don't have many options, do I? Rias said with a tone of sadness. Her brother only looked at her with a very large expression of seriousness. It is okay. I've already decided. Issei, you have to go. When I said this, the other members of the club started to feel a little bad. Would they really kick out the person they cherished? But in the end, they didn't think much that they would do anything for the president of the occult club. Very well. Beats all month to Issei-kun, obviously. When all this decision was over, the Mao Surzech left the club. Though what they did not expect is that a certain Summer Chestnut had heard everything that happened. Everything is according to our plan. It was Yamato who said this quietly and with an expression of darkness. 5 minutes later, everyone had already gathered in the main room of the club to warn that Issei would no longer be part of the group, so everyone was greatly surprised when they said they would throw the Chestnut forever, and also felt very bad about that. While Chestnut was at the entrance of the old student building, Rias opened the door to see the Chestnut. Issei, come, said this with a somewhat somber voice that alarmed the Chestnut a little, and without question he obeyed, and by the time they had reached the occult club, everyone was sitting watching Issei neutrally. Boucho, what's wrong? Asked Issei, somewhat worried about the situation in which he was at the moment. You see, we have a new member in the club, Rias said simply. That's right. It's this guy who's here, isn't it? He pointed to Yamato, who was with a calm expression. That's right, Issei. From now on I'm telling you that things are going to change a little here, is that okay? These words shook the Chestnut a little and gave him a bad feeling. What do you mean? Faced with this question, Issei was getting scared as things happened. I mean, to this and the next thing. The Chestnut did not expect it. When Rias snapped his fingers, the boys tied the boy against the door. They had tied his hands and feet so that he did not move, and these ties hurt him too much, but what was going to happen was a lot. But the boys tortured him in a very cruel way. First Akino electrocuted him with his lightning, then Kiba and Zenovia cut Issei's chest. Kaneko began to beat him brutally in his stomach. Then Irina used her angel powers to harm him but not kill him. Ravel used her flames to burn him, and Roswace used Norse magic against Issei. Then Rias along with Yamato approached Issei, and Rias saw him seriously while Yamato seemed to be enjoying his pain, and the Chestnut Tree could only ask one thing. Bye. What? Asked Issei in the last. Why? Despite being the Secretary, you are very weak. Besides, do you really think I loved you? No girl in her right mind would love a breast-obsessed pervert. The Chestnut Tree could only be very sad, and in his last moments he felt that something had broken inside him, as if a glass had broken into 1,000 pieces. I am sorry, but it's over forever. Goodbye. Hiya to Issei. By saying this, he invokes a small magic circle, and with that he snatches the evil pieces from his body, also extracting his soul, and now the Chestnut Tree was dead. Tell me, what do we do with this garbage? Said Yamato with a weave of contempt for the corpse of Issei. Arrogate him as is Yamato. Kaneko, disast of him, I order Kaneko. Boucho then picked up the body of the Chestnut wrapped in a sack, throwing the body into a river that they had never seen, but he cared little, so he threw the lifeless body of Issei. Oh, it's over. I serve you faithfully, and so you repay me. Said those words. I think it's the end, partner. Yes, it's over. It was a pleasure to meet you, Deedrag, he had told the dragon inside the. Very good, partner. It was a pleasure to meet you. Also Deedrag. Equally. And so the Chestnut Tree said goodbye to his friend and everything he knew. But what he didn't know is that two very powerful characters witnessed everything. In the heavens, these two powerful characters had seen the whole scene of how the boy was betrayed. One of these was a man between 18 and 20 years of age with too long hair that reached his ankles, wore a completely strange mask that consisted of only slanted eyes like a cat, and was completely blue without any human trace, and his clothing was very black style. He wore a black coat, along with a black long-sleeve t-shirt and black jeans. His arms and legs from the ankles and elbows forward had some kind of white prosthetics. And the other was a boy with blonde hair and the same size as the black-haired. He wore a somewhat identical mask, but the eyes were orange and had a mouth that looked like a monster, a blood-red kimono, and an old-looking gray girdle. These two beings were known as Naozan and Samurai. That boy is very interesting, said Samurai, calling the attention of his brother. Don't tell me what you think. Take the people, Neazan told him in a tone of I can't believe what I'm hearing. You know I don't think, brother. In addition, for that kind of thing, everyone deserves a second chance. When he told his brother this, he fell silent. I don't know. Are you sure you can handle that situation? Doubted the black-haired, who apparently did not entirely agree with the blonde. Do not worry. Everything is going to be fine. In addition, doesn't seem like a bad person. You can tell he has good feelings. He was just treated in an unfair way, and you know that irritates me too much. Apparently he was very furious about the betrayal of the Castano by his friends. Even so, remember that he is the Securitate. Not only can it create total chaos in our village but also all over the world. Are you really sure to take such a big responsibility on your shoulders? No matter how many times you try to convince me, Zen, I won't change my mind. That boy will be a thoroughbred dragon, like us, and those other two. Before the words of Samurai, the black-haired did not put any other objection to his plan. It is okay, but if the boy does something dangerous that could destroy the world, it will be all your fault. I gave him one last warning not to retract later. I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Now let's help you. He has been in the river for a long time and also does not seem to be like in that sack. Saying this, the blonde and the black hair took the chestnut tree away from the river so that they could revive it as a dragon. Then they left the boy's body in the river to float but face up so that he would not drown until he reached the village that Neazan had mentioned earlier. I hope you know what you're doing, said the black hair, leaving through a kind of black hole. Neglects. Everything will be fine. As he said this, he ran away at a fast speed and left for the forest. After the cold-blooded betrayal of Riaz and her entourage, in addition to being thrown into an unknown river, it began to float on the river face up, and in passing there were some trees and a very sad gray sky. Then the chestnut tree landed on a small dirt floor. What is it? Said this very weak and badly wounded. Just when the boy managed to retain himself in the grass, something happened, and that something was that a young man saw the chestnut tree lying down, helpless, completely alone, and also with a little burning. Thence the young man sadly saw the chestnut tree, thinking that he could not leave him alone, so he took one of his arms and helped him get home. A certain blonde from the bushes saw the whole scene of Issei being carried by the other boy. Good luck, boy. He turned and walked backwards, wishing luck to our protagonist. Issei was just waking up and a little tired, seeing around an oriental-looking room, but it was illuminated by an electric bulb typical of modern rooms, but the look looked like the oriental times of ancient Japan. He was very surprised, and not to mention that he only wore his red short-sleeve shirt and some boxers. Where am I? D-Drag, shout this, worried about his partner. Good morning, partner. D-Drag, what happened? He asked, totally bewildered. Well, all I remember is that the Gremlins killed you and threw you into a river. Then, I'm dead. But what are you doing here? Asked the chestnut again, more confused than before. You're not dead, said this new character, just entering the room. This young man was a boy who seemed to be the same age as Issei, but this boy was a platinum movie with blue eyes like sapphires, light body, a black shirt with black jeans with blue shoes, and in his arms he wore beads. Who are you? Asked Issei, frightened in the presence of the young man. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. As for your question, my name is Hollow. It's a taste. The boy, now known as Hollow, bowed to introduce himself. My name is Issei. Hi to Issei. Issei appeared before Hollow with a sad tone, and obviously the young man noticed the tone of sadness. It's a taste, Issei. Demo, how do you feel? Asked Hollow with an angelic tone. I feel good. What happened? The truth is that I do not explain what happened, but I really found you with very destroyed clothes, and you looked badly hurt, so I brought you to my house so I could heal you, Hollow said very simply. Issei was completely confused about the last events in his life, which when he remembered this one, he did it with a lot of hatred, and also he was frowning. Are you okay? Hollow asked, because he was with a very noticeable frown. Yes, I'm okay. It's just that I remembered something that made me angry is all, he said, calming down, but still had a bit of the hateful expression he had a few seconds ago. I understand. I won't ask you because I don't like to get into other people's personal problems, he said with a light smile. By the way, there's something bothering me. Where? Issei was going to continue but was interrupted by another boy's entrance. So you were here, and when we appear we have visitors, said this new character who joined the scene. This man had a young appearance that appeared to be 21 years old, very long dark blue hair, eyes of the same attractive physical color. His shirt was deep dark blue jeans, and a sack so white that it reached the ankles. Brother. Hello, Hollow greeted the boy who apparently was her brother. Wait, he's your brother. The chestnut tree was completely surprised to see the boy. Well, more or less. He's my adopted brother. Well, I'm adopted, Hollow said without removing her smile from her face. My name is Delthixis. And Hollow's older brother introduced the man now named Delthixis, who changed his cold expression to a calm one. By the way, I want to continue with my question. Where am I? Asked the chestnut, who continued with the doubt of where he was. Oh, of course, sorry for that. You are our home. The lost people of the Golden Serpent, said the blue movie. Golden Snake Village. Issei asked again, confused by the name of the village. That's how we are, a people who lost Eastern. Look out the window, Hollow pointed out the window. When he looked out the window, he saw a beautiful village that was composed of a rocky road with traditional Japanese-style houses combined with electricity poles, and half of the Oriental beast people and the other half dressed in a modern Issei way. He could only see with amazement the combination of Orient and modernism. Hollow said with his smile, even with his smile. It is a quiet place where we can live quietly, explained Delphixis to Issei, and this in turn was somewhat surprised. So, am I still in Japan or what? Again asked Issei, since I had many doubts about this place. Well, actually we are still in Japan. The issue is that we chose this exact point of the country to go unnoticed, explained the blue movie. Unnoticed? About what? What happens is that we are not affiliated with any of the three great factions, since as races that are dangerous live here we stay in this place without causing an uproar this time, Hollow explained. I understand. Wait, you said the three big factions. Do you know about them? Issei again asked again, and it seemed that his questions had no end. That's right. We are one of the most hated races that exist. Dragons. When saying this, the blue movie and the platinum movie showed their wings of dragons to the chestnut. Seeing this, the chestnut was very surprised. It was not expected to be in a town where there were only supernatural beings plus enzyme. This raised many questions to the chestnut since it was totally stunned. This doesn't seem real, he said with a hint of surprise. I know it may seem very confusing to a human, but that's okay, said the mature blue movie. Not really, because I was a demon, said Issei, this time with a little hatred. Now things had reversed. The blue movie and the platinum movie were surprised to hear those words. Were you a demon? Asked Hollow with great surprise. Yes, a reincarnated demon, now looking down a little decayed. You said you were a reincarnated demon. If a reincarnated demon has removed the evil pieces, this will die since they are linked to his soul. If you were a reincarnated demon, how did you survive the extraction? The truth is that I do not know. Actually, in my last moments I really believed I was going to die. I really felt like my body was heavy and everything else. I didn't expect him to survive that. Explaining this, the boys were somewhat surprised. Ahem, well, enough surprises and questions. We'll leave them for the afternoon. Do you have somewhere to go? Asked Delphixis. Apparently not. If I go back where I came from, the most likely they will find me to kill me or who knows what else. Well, then you can stay here. Before these words of the platinum movie, Delphixis put his attention on this. Hollow sees here for a moment. He took him with his back to the chestnut tree to speak in whispers. What's going on? He whispered so Issei wouldn't hear. I don't think it's convenient for him to stay. Who knows who he really is? Maybe a spy, whispered Delphixis. Listen, brother. If he were a spy, I wouldn't have found him with his ragged clothes. What's more, until I found him completely weak and without energy, and even the poor guy was scared. We can't leave him alone. He tried to convince his older brother to stay. I don't know. The truth is that this gives me a bit of a bad thorn. I whisper again, the blue movie. Never mind. Until we know anything about it, we have to help him. Please, brother, trust me. He begged that nothing would happen to us. They even put up puppy eyes to try to convince him. It is okay. Trusted you, he said with a soft smile. Thank you, brother. Well, Issei, you can stay here. We'll give you some alone time to recover and try to assimilate the information. Okay, said Hollow with a beaming smile. Okay, thank you, with a tone of discouragement, thought the blue movie. Well, see you, he said goodbye, leaving the room with his brother. When the two dragon boys left the room, the chestnut began to look out the window with a great expression of sadness and hatred, and apparently he was not going to forgive them easily, as Moore clenched his fist so hard that small drops of blood came out of his hand. You'd better keep your comments, D-Drag, in a voice as cold as ice. Hi, ha ha. Ha 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 ha. It was a somewhat psychopathic laugh that scared D-Drag a little. Partner, are you okay? Those wretched, no matter what motives they had. I don't care what I say or what happens. I don't plan to rest until they pay for what they did to me. In saying this, D-Drag was uncommented but not surprised. I did what I could to be a good devil. Try to be strong for her. Give a lot for her. I sacrificed myself and almost died for those idiots, and they paid me that. I was just used and discarded like a dirty rag. I don't plan to leave things like that, no sir. You will see, he said all this in a cold and at the same time gloomy voice. Thank you, partner. I knew I could count on you. He kept looking out the window with a calm face, this time thinking about how he will make Ria's and the others pay. Archangel Michael, who was the leader of the heavens, was standing watching the earth as it was until his sister Gabrielle appeared, who had a sad face. Gabrielle, what do you have? Asked Michael, worried about his sister's expression. It's Issei, he said sadly. What happened to him? He asked worriedly. Was killed. When he told this to his brother, he was surprised to learn that the Secretary was killed. Who was it? He asked, completely surprised. Ria's Gremory. And the others, even Arena, he said with great sadness. When I noticed about the death of Issei and that Arena even participated in this, I thought this one with a hand on his chin. Are you okay, brother? This time Gabriel asked. Yes, I'm okay. I was just thinking again. Something didn't make sense. Michael knew that Arena would never do that to Issei, and it can only happen one way. He thought it was the only way for her to attack him. Change of scene, Grigory. Azazel was sitting with his feet up the table and with a relaxed attitude, but that attitude was going to last little when Barakil entered, completely exalted, making Azazel shut up from his chair abruptly and hit his head, leaving a bump. Hey, what's wrong with you that you enter without touching? Azazel complained that the other fallen angel came in, surprising him and making him shut up. I'm sorry, Azazel, but we have heard news from the human world, said Barakil, who had an expression of complete disbelief. What's going on? He asked, bewildered and a little interested about the information. Hayao Issei, was killed, and it was Ria's Gremory with her group. When she said these words, she looked down disappointed as she found out that her daughter Akino participated in this. Azazel was completely shocked. He couldn't even imagine that people who were very close to Issei would betray him like that. Why? Asked Azazel, confused and angry at the same time. No one knows why, but the news is spreading everywhere, said Barakiel, who now had a serious expression. You have to go to the underworld, Azazel said in a serious tone. Change of scene, underworld. The Maoist Seraphol Leviathan and Adjuka Beelzebub could not believe what he was hearing from a messenger that Issei was killed. Adjuka took it very calmly, but Seraphol reacted differently, that is to say that he fell on his knees low on the ground, began to cry since she appreciated very much Issei. No way, it's not possible, Seraphol said, completely devastated. But how? He asked, completely confused. No one knows, the informant told him. It's impossible, Adjuka said angrily. No, please don't. Issei-chan. Seraphol was apparently shocked by the news. What's going on? Asked Surzech, who had just joined the scene. Surzech, is Issei? When he said this, Adjuka Surzech showed interest. What about Issei-kun? Asked the redhead. Issei was killed by Rias. When he had said this, Surzech feigned surprise since he knew what Rias did in those moments. Seriously, what a tragedy, said Surzech. Apparently everyone in the world about Natural had learned of the tragedy of his death since someone reported about his death, and that someone was nothing more and nothing less than that his dear readers. Yamato, the boyfriend of Rias, said that he no longer needed Issei, besides that he was getting very rebellious and above all insolent, so he was Ardo. And when they had finished this conversation, the Maoists, they went and took different paths to their jobs, but one of them began to see Surzech in a very suspicious way, and that person was Seraphol, who distrusted him. Surzech was sitting on his throne until a green magic circle appeared and revealed an angry Azazel. Azazel, what do I owe your visit? Said the redhead with a tone of kindness. Don't be. You know why I came? He said angrily. I don't know what you're talking about. He apparently didn't want to remember that. Sigh, I mean to say now he was angrier. All that. The truth is that I do not want to talk about it, he said with a sad tone. I suspect you are hiding something. What are you talking about? I know you have something to do with his death. Stop playing dumb, said the fallen, much fury. I don't know what you're talking about. Believe me, I am as grieved as you are by the death of Issei-kun. Believe me, if I had known what would happen I would have avoided it, he said sadly. I believe you this time. Then he went the same way he came. Believe me, Azazel, I wish things hadn't turned out that way. I'm seriously sorry, Issei-kun. Apparently the redhead was sorry for having murdered the person he considered a younger brother, but apparently he did not have many options for that reason. Delvixis was sitting at a desk reading a book on alchemy until, Brother, have information, Hollow said with a smile. Seriously, let me see. I asked the movie Platinum to pass him something that contained information. Apparently even the news of Issei's death came out even in the newspapers. It seems that he was telling the truth. The Blue Movie read the whole newspaper about that event, but he was greatly surprised when he saw that the boy was the current Secretary. Is that boy the Secretary? Asked Hollow, surprised. Apparently if he calls the boy, he asked his younger brother. What seemed like about 5 minutes Issei was in front of Delvixis. So, are you the Secretary? He asked. Yes, I am the current user of the boosted gear. Try it, I exclaimed to make him rebel. Then he extended his arm so that it would then glow and turn into a red gauntlet and a huge green gem. How impressive, Delvixis exclaimed again in surprise. How scary, Hollow said as he knew what the boosted gear looked like and worked. Then his sacred gear disappeared from his arm to see the serious look of the Blue Movie. You know, in this village they know very well the reputation that the Secretary carries between their shoulders. I never thought that we would have here one of the most powerful Longinus that exist. And surely when they find you they will kill you. As they already did, I explained the Blue Movie to the Chestnut. I am aware of that. That's why I want to make you a proposal. When I said this, both the Chestnut and the Platinum Movie were surprised to hear that. I want you to work with us, he proposed. How? Asked Issei. I want you to be part of us, the Dragon Truth organization, mentioning the name of your organization. Dragon Truth. That's right. This organization is specialized in protecting our people from the shadows of any threat, whether angel, fallen angel, demon or yokai, explained Delvixis what it consisted of. And do you want me to join you? Asked Issei, somewhat surprised. Exactly. But of course it's your choice. I will not lead you to anything. If you want to leave and do whatever you want, that's fine. I'm not the one to tell you what to do. I'm just asking you to do it because our organization only has 4 people, he told Issei. 4. The other 2 are in who knows where, Hollow explained this time. What I ask is that you be part of us to protect our home. It's already very safe, but we want it to be safer than it already is, and that's why we need as many staff as possible. What do you say? You sign up, extending your hand. This is something that he did not expect, to work with them to protect a town. This gave him a lot to think about, but then he remembered something with Rias. He never had the choice to choose or leave. He always had to do what his mistress asked, or what he asked. Many would accept the proposal that the Blue Movie was offering him, but let me think about it a little. Yes, said the Chestnut. Of course, take as long as you think necessary. Just remember that here you have a home and a possible family. Thanks. Saying this, the Chestnut proceeded to retire. Do you think he'll join us? I don't know, Hollow. I don't know. Our protagonist was on the roof of a house other than that of the brothers, and he observed the house that was a huge oriental temple and was ridiculously large, was red and white with a huge stone door, but you could see that at the end of the tower, a large statue consisting of a snake of medium height against a huge oriental dragon. That place is huge. I'm surprised I just got out of there, said the chestnut tree, a little surprised of the structure. Partner, what's wrong? I'm thinking. In everything that happened. You mean that, right? Please, don't make me remember, with a sad tone. No matter, partner. You just have to forget all that. I can't forget, he said this in a cold, hateful tone. You mean whether I join your organization or not? I'm thinking about it, but I'm tempted to say yes, he said with a smile on his lips. Don't tell me this has to do with revenge against the Gremerys, right? Maybe, he said in a cold voice. I understand. But remember that no matter what happens, I will always be on your side, okay? Thanks, Dreg. I'm glad you're by my side. But changing the subject, how do you think I survived the extraction of the evil pieces? He asked, curious, since it was not yet explained how he survived said extraction. The truth, I don't know. But how? You were supposed to be in my body, you should know what happened, exclaimed the chestnut, impressed that Dreg knew nothing. What are you talking about? When a wearer dies, the sacred gear goes into a state of suspension. And what does that mean? Asked the chestnut tree, still not understanding what he meant. I understand. Why do you always fall asleep? He asked jokingly to annoy Dreg. Please don't even remind me. It's true, Issei was known as Oppai Dragon in the underworld, and that demolished Dreg's reputation, causing the other dragons to make fun of him, and he had no choice but to sleep to endure the shame and everything else he was going through. Sigh, well, I think we will find out sooner or later. After having said these words, the chestnut tree came down from the roof of the house thanks to some rubbish that was in this. Change of scene, Kuo. Of samurai. The samurai was in Kuo, so it is. The city where I found the boy Sekiryute, which we revived and turned into a thoroughbred dragon. My brother Neazan told me to wait at this exact point in the city. I wonder what he wants to talk to me. Maybe it's about the boy again. But what intrigues me most is that the boy has been betrayed by his friends, just because that guy who was Ria's Gremery's boyfriend arrived. But the truth is that something happens. Here's something that doesn't fit. I asked myself, did you also notice? A voice was heard and I managed to recognize it. Zen, I said to my brother, since that's the short way I call him. He looked at me in a very cold way. What did you call me for? I asked my brother, since he didn't tell me exactly why this meeting. I want to talk to you about an important issue, he told me very seriously and coldly. If it's about the Sekiryute, don't worry. According to my sources, he has not done damage in the village. Trying to give an answer. I would like to leave the subject of Sekiryute aside for a while, since I want to talk to you about a more important topic. That child, the truth is that I expected us to talk about the boy. I didn't expect us to talk about a more important issue then. And what do you want to talk about? He asked his mind. They came back saying this gives me a chill all over my back as I immediately deduced the subject. After his jacket, I take out about 3 folders and throw them near me and open them one by one, seeing all the contents of it, and guess what he wanted to talk about? The evil dragons. Grenle, Azidahaka, and the most annoying of all, Crom Cruets, mentioning the 3 evil dragons that are more annoying than a toothache. But what, weren't they dead? I asked, as I remember hearing they were destroyed. They did not die. They just hid. And they are stronger than before. When Zen said that, it not only gave me a big chill in the spine but also in the stomach. Now things are going to get difficult this time, right? I said, remembering the boy Sekiryute. Especially now that Crom Cruets is back. I don't know how that dragon manages to cause us problems every time. Apparently he agrees with me that they are very annoying. What do you think is going to happen? He asked, waiting for the obvious answer. Fight, as we always have. Apparently we have no other options than that. Can it not be otherwise? I think I already know the answer to this too. I'm afraid not. The future of our people depends on us samurai. We have to save the people of our village at all costs. With that serious expression that was notorious on his mask, he didn't seem to be joking. Then will the Sekiryute also help us? The truth is that I do not recommend that this if I was surprised. But why? He asked, very puzzled about the refusal to the suggestion of his help. Remember that the title of Sekiryute has a very large weight that carries it. The boosted gear that the boy brings is such a weapon of destruction that it could wipe out the entire planet in less than you can imagine. If we use the guy in battle, maybe he gets out of control and ends up destroying everything. What he told me made me think. It is true that the title of Sekiryute has always had a bad reputation, not only in the 3 great factions, if not also in our village, since some of the citizens of our home knew previous Sekiryute, and believe me, they are not something worthy of admiration. I know this time is different. The eyes on my brother's mask got a little bigger. Why do you think that? He asked me a little curiously. Because he's like me. I can't argue with that. He created the Dragon Truth Organization not only in order to defend our people, but also in order to unite us as brothers, and apparently worked. It was true. I had seen many people betrayed and in some cases killed. That's why he believes Dragon Truth, to let them know that you can always have a second chance after all. And the Sekiryute is an example of this. Very well, I'll give you a chance. But if you fail, remember that it will be your fault. He warned me with the same thing again. Trust me, telling him this started to go down a black hole. I hope you know what he's doing. In the end he went into said black hole. Why will he be so suspicious? I asked myself again as I threw myself off the building, making a mortal behind. Change of scenery, Golden Snake Village. Normal POV. It was already night, the stars covered the whole sky and the moon illuminated the face of the chestnut tree who was sitting at the top of the temple observing the city illuminated by the lamp posts, and who seemed to have an expression of sadness on his face. Was a little sad until, nice night, isn't it? The blue movie appeared behind Issei, who was surprised to hear his voice. Delvixis mentioned the name of the boy that sat next to the chestnut tree. You know that if you don't want to accept enter our group it doesn't matter. I tried to cheer him up as he seemed to have a sad expression. Tell me, if I join you, what would I change? Asked Issei in a very soft voice. Well, you could do whatever you wanted without any restrictions that prevent you. We don't judge anyone. We only support them in whatever they do if they ask us a lot of questions. That's what trust is based on, making conversation and trying to calm your nerves and clear your doubts as much as possible. And if I wanted to seek revenge, wouldn't they say anything? He asked again. Neglects. If what you want is revenge, you can assure that we will support you in everything you do no matter what. Apparently Deltixis went out of its way to answer the questions of Issei, who apparently had many doubts. It's just, I don't know whether to put my trust in you. They seem like good people if they are friendly, I admit, but I don't know if I should. I'm honestly a little afraid of what might happen, since this is not easy to decide. Since I do not want to suffer again. These words were with a great load of sadness that would make anyone feel a great pity for the situation of the chestnut. You know, there are times when I can be very cold and also sometimes it can seem that I have no feelings. But I can assure you that I have them. I want to protect and help people who suffer as much as I do. For example, you're sketching a soft smile. I don't think you understand what happens. Technically, I was killed by the people I considered my friends. And for the woman he loves. Issei returned to his sad state. It's true. I don't know how it feels to be betrayed and I have no idea of everything you went through. But that doesn't mean I can't help you. I want you to be our brother. In this place we will respect both your decisions and your actions no matter what they are, no matter what happens. We will always be with you, whether you join us or not. Apparently they were engaging in a very emotional conversation. Issei changed his state from sad to pensive. I try to think about what I should do. He had a hunch that if he joined them he would have at least a new life and friends who really respect him. What do you say, boy? Do you want to be our brother? Saying these words the Brown stopped thinking and got up. Very well, I've already decided. I still want revenge, but I want more to have siblings. Deltixis agreed to join the Dragon Truth organization and defend the Golden Serpent people from all the evil that lurks. I will be the Securite who will protect to this people until the last moment, he said, putting aside his sadness with an expression of decision. Welcome, brother. It will be a pleasure to fight by your side to protect our home. After this conversation both boys bumped their fists as a sign of companionship. Until, it seems that they already get along. Out of nowhere appears the masked blonde. Samurai, exclaimed Deltixis, exalted. Deltixis, who is he? Asked Issei, since he didn't know who the samurai was at all. He is the current leader of the Dragon Truth organization. Samurai, he explained to his new brother. Boy, you fit well. Samurai headed towards Issei. Thank you, he said, a little puzzled. Deltixis, boy, you'd better come to the meeting room. Calls Hollow 2 noticed to both. Got it, the blue movie replied and then went looking for Hollow. The two stood on the rooftop for a while looking at each other. I'm glad you're comfortable. Tell me how you feel, with a friendly tone. I feel good. By the way, my name is Issei. Shouldn't we be in the meeting room? Asked the chestnut. Oh right, follow me. Then Issei started following Samurai, who came down the stairs. Change of scene, meeting room. The Dragon Truth's meeting room was nothing to write home about. It was just a small room in the old Japanese style lit by a few candles. The boys were surrounded around Samurai, who was with a look of seriousness in his mask. Tell me, Samurai, why did you bring us here? Asked Deltixis, since he was only getting together for a mission of the utmost importance. You will see, guys. They are back, said the samurai with concern. They? Asked Issei, who didn't know what they were talking about. The evil dragons. In saying this the three gave them goosebumps. You'd have to be joking. Hollow with a noticeable touch of fear. I'm sorry, but they're back. He put up the folders his brother had given them for them to see. It had to be Crom Cruach. The blue movie mentioned the annoying dragon. Do you know him? Apparently Issei did not know what relationship Crom Cruach had with them. Believe me, that guy is more annoying than a toothache and almost always attacked us on every occasion we met him. Hollow said this with a tone of being extremely upset. You see, he's not only the strongest of the evil dragons. He is also the leader of an organization that wants to destroy ours, Samurai told Issei. Another organization like us? Asked Issei, since he apparently has many doubts. No, they unlike us are like millions. Instead we are like 5 with you. The issue is that they want to destroy our village and murder all the inhabitants. Why? Truth. Here there is a lot of very powerful weaponry, and apart there are certain mysteries that they want to corroborate. Not to mention the legends that run around here. Now Hollow is the one explaining. Legends? Issei again, and now curious to know. In this town runs a certain amount of legends and myths that we keep them that way because we do not want an unnecessary catastrophe to happen or that some inhabitant of this town tries to take over. This samurai told him. Then, he keeps these elements as myths and legends so that people don't discover them or become obsessed with power, right? Issei affirming what he understood. Exactly. We also try to keep ourselves hidden so as not to make a fuss, as it could make a fuss of very colossal proportions. Then, I will help you. But first I have a question, said Issei addressing Samurai. If you tell me, ask what you want, Samurai with a very coax tone. Why am I here? These were the questions Issei asked Samurai. I think it's about time I told you. Truth. The reason you are here is thanks to when my brother and I murdered you, we found you. What's more, we had seen the whole scene, and we decided to give you another chance since what you suffered was unfair. So me and my brother Neazan, we gave you a new life. Like a thoroughbred dragon, I finish explaining. Issei was very surprised about the information. He was no longer human, he was a thoroughbred dragon, and all thanks to this samurai who was in front of him. Now he felt indebted to him as he saved his life. I understand. Samurai-sama, I thank you and Neazan-sama for giving me another chance. I hope I can repay this debt by working with you and protecting this people, he said, bowing. Issei, it is not necessary to be so formal. Just tell me Samurai and my brother, just tell him Neazan or Zen as you see fit. I want you to live the life you want. Well, I think that's it. Go to sleep. Issei, I'm going to take you to train. I want you to be as strong as we are, Samurai exclaimed. Got it, Issei replied. Come here. I take you to your room. Having said this, the blonde took the chestnut to his room, which was the same as the one he woke up, and then proceeded to retire. A few seconds after that, the chestnut tree went to the window and leaned on it, observing the city. Yes, the truth is that I feel indebted to them. But here they give me the option to leave and go. That's what I like the most. Why with Grenle if I had to work for them, didn't he? That's right. I thought I would be happy with her. I thought we'd be together forever. What a fool I was. That only happens in fairy tales, he said coldly. Drake tried to think something to encourage Issei, but he did not come up with anything. Apparently the anger and desire for revenge of his partner were growing so strongly that for the first time he began to worry the dragon a little. Well, we'd better sleep. Tomorrow will be a new day, or maybe a long day, thinking about the training that Samurai could give him. Well, rest member. Then Issei proceeded to lie on his bed, which was a very spacious white Japanese futon. Just wait, Riz Grenle. Just wait. When he said this, the chestnut proceeded to sleep, looking forward to tomorrow. The rays of the sun illuminated the room of Issei, who woke up slowly with a little sleep. This got up yawning from sleep and rubbed his eyes hard to clarify them. Had been 2 weeks since what happened with Riz Grenle. And since he joined the Dragon Truth organization, he began to live with them, but apparently he had trouble memorizing where the rooms were since the place was very large and Issei was very easily lost. Issei, it's time for breakfast, let's go. Hollow had warned him to go down and go to breakfast. Uncoming. Where is the kitchen? He put on black pants and wore traditional Japanese sandals. Come, I guide you to the kitchen. Then the platinum movie and the chestnut are gone. They walked for a few minutes, walking downstairs, and found an exaggeratedly huge elegant wooden table in a dark brown wooden room with many picturesque paintings. This is very exaggerated. For a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, said Issei when he saw the large size of the table. Actually, we have the table in case there are meetings or parties. You always have to be one step ahead, said the platinum movie with a friendly smile. Breakfast is ready, shouted the blue movie that was in the kitchen and apparently was making breakfast. A few minutes later, the boys started eating their breakfast. Samurai, Delthixis, and Hollow served themselves a lot of food that was very exaggerated and also ate as if they had never eaten in their entire lives. Issei only just watched them and ate their quiet breakfast and also put in exaggerated food. Will you eat all that? Asked Samurai. Later, said Issei. As you wish. Then the samurai devoured his food again. Minutes passed and the boys finished their rough breakfast. Issei, who had a smaller breakfast, finished it before the others because he could not eat the same amount as his companions since his body still did not assimilate that he was a thoroughbred dragon. Phew, what good food. The samurai was packed with food. If my brother is the best at cooking, Hollow said, praising Delthixis. Well, thank you. Ha. Delthixis laughed softly. Issei the blonde caught the attention of the chestnut. What's going on? He asked at the samurai call. It's time to train, the blonde said in a serious voice. Change of scene, Academy Kyo Occult Club. Pavkarniko. It had been 2 weeks since Issei-senpai died. Things were calmer, and his absence was very noticeable. Apparently I was the only one to blame for us betraying our partner, but apparently the others did not care anything about Boucho, less he cared too much since he was with Yamato-sama, but he seemed not to like that she was close to him. Suddenly we were called for a mission. Apparently a mysterious character was causing damage in a part of the city and there were many dead. All including Yamato-sama. We went to stop said being. We had arrived towards the place where the individual was a burly man wearing a hood. You could not see his face, but you could tell it was sinister. Good morning, said the hooded man. Tell me, who are you? Asked Boucho authoritatively. My name doesn't matter much, I'm just someone who likes the destruction of lower beings. This man was definitely evil. Renegade listening. In the name of the Grenle clan you must be destroyed. Boucho said it again with authority. When he said these words he launched a great burst of power of destruction that according to us would end with that subject. But I was surprised when someone was stopping the attack, and what's more, I couldn't believe what Boucho actually saw, and I was incredulous just looking at him. Yamato-sama stopped Boucho's power. You didn't know what was going on. Why did Yamato-sama stop the power of Boucho? I had a bad feeling about this. Oh, Yamato, I wondered what had become of you. Apparently that man knew Yamato-sama. It is a pleasure to serve you, sir. I think it's about time most of you are free because I don't need it anymore. After saying this, I snapped my fingers and everyone was confused except Boucho. And I was apparently in a mental submission created by the "let's go, it's time to go." The man with the somber voice when he appeared was about to retire. I agree, sir. Yamato-sama was leaving with the grim-looking man until... Hold on, what are you doing? Asked Boucho, his voice trembling. What do you think I do? I'm leaving this garbage dump city as more. I do not plan to spend a second more with you losers. Especially with you, Rias. This surprised everyone. Apparently he was pretending all this time. For what, you mean? Boucho asked again with great fear. Or are you stupid that you don't understand? I never loved you. Initially I stayed with you to get closer to Surzech's. But then I received orders to eliminate the Sekyuute. I've lied to you all this time, Rias. In addition, who would love a spoiled and stupid girl who only knows how to hide behind her silly friends? Said Yamato in a voice full of contempt. At these words Boucho falls to her knees and was crying since the man she loved only used her as a tool, and we all felt bad because we immediately remembered Issei-senpai. Wretch, I shouted as I summoned my ears and Nekomato tail and throwing Senjutsu spheres, but they immediately disappeared. I went to see Boucho to see how she was, apparently completely devastated and sad as her eyes were full of tears and with an expression that she had done the worst thing that could be done. Boucho, are you okay? He asked when he saw how he was. No way. No, but what have I done? Issei, Issei. He screamed loudly and then fainted. Boucho. He grabbed her before she fell silent and her face was soaked with tears. Then I started crying because I also contributed to the torture of Senpai, and the others were also crying except for Yuuto-senpai, who had an angry face and was on one knee. Normal puff. We arrived, exclaimed Samurai. When they arrived they found a huge grass field with some trees around, and in sight you could see huge mountains, but it also had basic and advanced training structures. It's a very beautiful place, said Issei, because of the beauty of the place. Samurai created this place so that we could strengthen our powers and also perfect other types of arts and battle skills both in the physical field and in the field of ranged and melee weapons, Delthixis explained. And not only here you can train physically. In these mountains you can meditate a little to have some peace and control or exercise and develop spiritual powers. Hollow followed the explanation. And what am I going to start training with? Asked Issei, somewhat anxious to train. First we will start with the physical part. I need to know how strong you are in that to start. We will go little by little in your training, and the first level will be physical capacity. Show me, give me a blow and I'll stop it. But this one has to be with all your might, Samurai told Issei while he was in a position to stop an attack. Very well, I exclaimed this determined. He put himself in battle position and then tried to strike the samurai, but he stopped him with great ease. I'm afraid it's not enough. You still need more physical strength to fight. Believe me, the challenges that await you surpass the current strength you have. That's why we will start with the basics, said the samurai. And what is the basics? Asked curiously. This, he put a pair of black wristbands and boots of the same color. At first Issei did not understand the concept very well since the accessories that the samurai put on him did nothing. And what for? He asked again. For this. Having said this, the blonde snapped his fingers and fists of Issei fell to the ground on his knees and with his hands buried in the earth. But what is this? Before they weighed nothing. And now I almost can't move. Issei complained about the incredible weight he was bearing all over his body plus enzyme trying to get his hands off the ground. It is a level 1 training equipment. What it does is that I click it will activate and will make your body barely able to move and have less mobility than you already have. Samurai explained the concept of the equipment that Issei has. Are you serious? Asked Issei in disbelief. That's right. And the most important thing is missing. Boy, said the blonde. Sorry, said Delthixis and Hollow when they put a large number of bricks tied together forming a red cube on a wooden platform placed on the back of the chestnut tree, causing it to lie on the ground. First you must get up so that he can start training. Try it, the samurai said in soft words. Very well. Here I come. With great difficulty to move. Issei tried to get up from the ground to which he was stuck, and apparently he was getting it. He had already managed to get his hands out of the ground a little, and then he took them out completely standing up. But he looked very difficult, and seeing his arms I noticed that they were dirty and covered with dirt. Perfect. Now we can start training, he said, climbing onto the brick bucket on his back. What are you supposed to do? Asked the chestnut tree, seeing how the blonde man was on his back. Run, go to that mountain without stopping, and when you finish we will return home. I order in a kind way to Issei, who obeyed the order with difficulty to run, but at least he could, and the other 2 dragons stayed watching. How much do you think I'll be able to bear running with that weight? Asked Hollow to his brother, watching as Issei went through that hard training. I give it about 5 hours. What do you say? It was as if they were making a bet. I say 10. I'm surprised he accepted samurai training starting with the basics, I exclaimed the platinum movie with a notorious tone of surprise. Why do you say that? Well, to start back and forth from that mountain to the house are 24 hours, and more enzyme in this town is well known. The training that imposes samurai on his students. Hollow explained why he was surprised. Yes, but he doesn't know anything about that kind of samurai training. Shall we go home? I want to read something. The blue movie asked his younger brother. If I want to sleep for a while, he replies with a smile. After this the two brothers went home so that the Delphic Sis read a book about who knows what and that Hollow could sleep for a while. In a tree a few hours from the Golden Snake Village, a platinum-haired boy with the appearance of a juvenile delinquent was standing thinking about something. That young man was none other than Vali Lucifer, the current Hakuryuku, and what was he thinking? On the death of his rival, as he wanted to fight him one day. Vali thought, who was mentally talking to Albion. True, things have been very enigmatic. Apart from that, this is a big problem since I have no one to fight. Also, Kuroka and Lefei have been very sad since they learned of his death. It is true that the entire underworld learned of the death of the Sekiryute by Yamato, and when they found out, Kuroka and Lefei were not only sad, they were devastated to have learned of it. Who will that guy Yamato be? Asking at nothing and only to himself until suddenly, Vali noticed Albion's reaction and was apparently one of utter disbelief. What's going on, Albion? Asked the albino at the reaction of the dragon inside him. Vali, I feel a presence very close to here. Is it very powerful? It's not the power it has, if of whom it belongs. And who is it? From Dreg, and the boy who owns it. Hearing this, Vali is left with wide eyes, as he had also believed that his rival had died. Albion, where is that presence? He asked to go and corroborate it for himself. It's a kilometer behind us. I have to corroborate this, pulling his wings out of divine dividing and flying to the place where he was. Change of scene, road to the mountain. Vali hid behind some bushes to see if what Albion said was true. Where are they? He asked boredly. Vali tilted his head a little to see behind the trees and noticed someone approaching. This thing Weightsaaaa. He cried out in complete pain, surprising Vali because he recognized that voice. Don't worry, just a little more, said a voice that this time did not recognize. And just as he passed, he saw Hayato Issei alive, running with equipment that looked very light but had a huge brick cube on his back and a subject that Vali did not recognize. Albion, was that Issei? He asked, completely surprised. If, indeed, that was Dreg's boy. But, if a demon is removed, the evil pieces will die. How is it possible that he survived that? He asked again to see if he received a coherent answer. I can't explain. I don't understand how he survived. How did he do it? I thought they were playing a joke on them. The two didn't believe that the one they were seeing was actually the perverted chestnut they met. In fact, they believed that it was a very crazy dream, and even more seeing it in that situation. You have to warn the others. He flew out of here again to warn his companions to let them know that Issei was alive. It was already dusk. You could see the very beautiful sunset on the road where the chestnut tree was almost the tip of the mountain. As the other two said previously, the round trip of that mountain was 24 hours, and of those 24, 12 passed, and Issei managed to reach the chasm of the mountain. I succeeded. I made it. I made it. He shouted, victorious, to reach the mountain, running with all the weight he had. Prefect, now let's go home, said Samurai, very relaxed in the brick cube. What? Seriously? I was shouting again, now with the tone of I can't believe what you say. Yes, now to the house. If you want to arrive before dinner, you will have to go very fast because you already missed lunch this time, the blonde said it with fun. This will be difficult, can you bear it? I hope so, he said mentally when he again started running towards the direction in which he was the temple. Hey Samurai, and this for what? Asked the chestnut about the training phase. It is so that you get used to it and you can move a little more easily, because during the entire first phase of the training you will wear all these things except when you eat or sleep, obviously, he explained, answering the question that Issei had asked. I understand, I replied. After that question they continued on their way home to arrive before dinner. In a room with a very large amount of books, the Blue Movie was reading a book about pyrotechnics, and Hollow was sitting in front of the window to see his partner. And the leader arrived. What are you seeing? Asked Delphixis to his brother. The stars. And what do you read? Now asked Hollow, curious about the book he had in his hand. About fire, he said simply. Sai, you're always with the fire, right? Hollow said, amused. And you are always very smiling, replied Delphixis, until the two saw on the ground that the two missing characters were arriving. After seeing them through the window, they decided to go to receive them to see how it was, and when they saw them they were a little surprised to see that Issei was hurt, with scratches and with his clothes pulled. Again, as soon as Samurai, he was intact as if nothing had happened. Hollow asked, surprised to see the appearance of the chestnut tree. We met a pack of wolves. I told him to fight them to train in. The rest is history, explained the blonde to the Platinum Movie about the appearance of the chestnut. I understand, said the Blue Movie to contribute something to the conversation. Hey, what time is it? Asked Issei with a tone of pain. It's 12 o'clock at night. They missed dinner. When he said this, the Platinum Movie Issei was left with a face of disbelief, and Samurai got off his back. Well, Issei, go to dinner, and then go to sleep. Hollow heals his wounds. I don't want them to get infected and disaster to happen, he ordered Hollow. To order, Hollow said, to heal the wounds of the chestnut tree. This will be a very, very, very long workout. I already believe it. They started treating his wounds, and Issei, who was in pain, prepared for a very hard training. Near the village of the Golden Serpent was a man of Gothic appearance standing on a tree, arms folded, watching the moon and the stars with great interest. This man was none other than Naozan, the brother of Samurai. And why was he there? Because I was remembering that boy I bully a few hours ago. Flashback, 16 hours before. Vali was flying at full speed to warn that Hayato Issei was still alive, and before his eyes he was tortured. He flew and flew as fast as he could until a black burst crossed his path. What was that? Asked the albino when he saw that strange gust. I don't know, but it is a very powerful entity. Perfect is already starting to bore me. I hope it's very strong, he said, all excited to know that this was very powerful. And suddenly he is surprised to see the gothic-looking man face to face without mentioning his speed. Who are you? He asked to find out who he was in front of. That doesn't matter much. I'm afraid I can't let you say it, said the black movie with a very cold voice. What do you say, what? Asked Volley defiantly. That he is alive. After having said these words, he grabs the albino by the throat, causing him to breathe with difficulty and paralyzing him a little. Who are you? Asked this with great difficulty to be strangled with a huge force. I'm just a dragon. Having said this, I throw Volley to the ground, causing him to crash into the trees. Volley was not only surprised but also excited to find someone stronger than him, and the surprise went up when Neazan pulled out dragon wings as black as the void. What he did next, grabbed him by the collar of his shirt. Listen to me well. You'd better keep your mouth shut about what you saw, because I won't beat around the bush the next time you walk in here. You understand? He said in a threatening tone. I understand. In pain, he flew away immediately from the place, thinking about what he said to him. Apparently he was in a very big dilemma. Maybe he may not have cared much about his words, but the great demonstration of power scared him so much that he did not want to get into trouble, and Moranzan could not believe that he was so scared because he could feel the aura emanating, and Neazan's aura was not a very peaceful aura to say. The black movie was only limited to seeing how it flew without chasing it. End of flashback. He kept gazing at the stars from a tree with his arms crossed. Apparently you did not want them to discover that the chestnut tree was still alive, and the answer is very simple. He had to protect the boy, because if they discovered him they would probably chase him to kill him, and he did not want that. It is true that Neazan was very cold and also very sinister, but it was obvious that he was one of the people who would never betray his companions, unless his brother, who placed a lot of trust in him. I wonder, how will Samurai train him? He asked himself as if expecting an answer to his question. After having remembered all this, the black movie proceeded to get off the tree and get out of there. Our protagonist was with the same equipment as the day before training, and he was jumping down some poles because on the ground there was burning coal and embers, without mentioning that he was dodging some daggers which were thrown by samurai. Issei, with all the weight that had enzyme, was only limited to evade the daggers that were thrown indiscriminately. Do you want to kill me or what? Asked Issei sarcastically. You're crazy if you think so, said the samurai, throwing more daggers. Well, what is this for? To improve your reflexes. This is also part of the first phase of your training. He kept throwing daggers from a post other than Issei's. Okay, I understand the daggers, but why do I have so much weight on me? Complained about how heavy his equipment was. You must improve both speed and reflexes. If you find yourself in a situation of this type, you must act more quickly if you do not want to die in combat. I explained the theme of the training so that he understood. They spent 30 minutes samurai throwing and Issei dodging them until the samurai stopped throwing the daggers and then removed a bandage from his left sleeve. Very well, let's move to another level, okay, he said, stretching the blindfold. Issei said fearfully, okay, now I want to test your instincts to see how they are, approaching Issei and covering his eyes so he can't see anything. Wait, I don't see anything. How am I supposed to dodge the daggers if I can't see them? Apparently Issei doubted a lot about samurai training. The eyes, despite being a very important element, are also a problem. Since the eyes of all races are easy to deceive, believe me, it doesn't matter what race. I want you to use your instincts and senses. You must perfect them and not just use the sight ones. What do you feel or smell? Asked the samurai, trying to hear his answer. Sniff, 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 sniff. Something smells delicious, he said, enjoying the delicious smell of roast beef. Sniff, sniff. It's true, it was cooking meat. Wondering that he saw everywhere until he saw smoke, and then went to where he was to find the surprise that his other two companions were cooking steak. Hello, samurai, said the two in chorus. But what are they doing? Shouted furiously. We make lunch for Issei, Hollow said in an angelic tone. If the poor man last night had to eat leftovers from last night's dinner now, said Deltixis with a pleasant tone. But here, Valen to cook elsewhere. Having said this, the other two dragons went home to cook Issei's lunch, since I eat only leftovers and have very little breakfast. Again, when Issei returned, he was trying to stand until the samurai returned. Very well, let's go back to training, he said as he threw daggers which Issei had a hard time dodging. Change of scenery, mountains of the underworld. In the mountains was Lefei with a sad face. She was still like this since she learned of the death of Sekurute, since she was also a friend of hers, and besides she was a great admirer of her show. But now he didn't care. When she learned that Issei had been murdered, she was so devastated that she remembered how she reacted. Shut on her knees and crying the same as Kuroka. Apparently both did not take the news like the others. Arthur and Biku did not care much about the news since they did not know Issei so much. Volley had a face of anger and desire for revenge that was incredible. Issei-sama, said Lefei with a weave of sadness. You miss it too, right? Kuroka suddenly appeared. The blonde magician didn't know what to answer. Believe me, I miss Issei-san as much as you do. I was trying to talk to Lefei since the feeling of sadness they had was mutual. Why did they kill him? He asked in a very brittle voice. Kuroka's hair covered her eyes. I can't accept it. I will not accept that they killed Issei-sama just like that. I can't accept it. Then Lefei started crying after she had screamed so loudly. Hiroka was not far behind in his eyes. Maybe he could not see himself, but he was also crying silently since Issei had made such a change in them that they could not accept it. The chestnut tree was full of cuts and wounds on his arms, torso and legs. In fact, the only area where he did not have a single scratch was his back as he carried a huge bucket of bricks. Not bad. We can rest from this phase of training, said the samurai, making Issei lower his guard. Panting, can I take off the bandage? He said between gasps and pain. Yes, you can take it off, samurai said. When he said that, Issei proceeded to take off his blindfold to see the light in his eyes bothering him a little since he had it for an hour. Very well. Rest for about 10 minutes and then we will return to training. Then the samurai sat cross-legged and arms crossed. What are you doing? He asked doubtfully about what he was doing. I'm resting. You better rest the way you want. Oh, I almost forgot. Snapped my fingers and the Issei equipment became lighter. Finally, my arms were starting to hurt, he said, rubbing them from the pain they caused. Go to rest, boy, because in 10 minutes we will train again, I recommended in a soft voice. After listening to the suggestion of the Issei samurai, he went for a walk in the forest to contemplate the landscape and nature that surrounded him. It's a beautiful place. I am surprised that there is such a place, said Issei, praising the beauty of the place. It is suddenly a cold and gloomy voice was heard. At this voice Issei was shocked as he did not expect that someone was following him. Who are you? Asked Issei in battle pose. Don't panic. I don't plan to hurt you. Suddenly an entity appeared in a gothic dress. Who are you? The chestnut apparently was still confused about the individual's identity. I am Naozan, he said simply. Are you Naozan? The samurai brother. Issei was surprised at the appearance of this man. That's right. I'm the samurai brother now, in a not-so-cold voice. It's nice to meet you, Naozan-sama said, a little tense and bowing. Formalism is not necessary. My brother already told me about you, returning to his usual cold voice. Seriously? Yes, so you don't have to get tense or anything. Look at me like a brother or something like samurai would, trying to convince Issei to leave formalisms. Yes, it is okay. Naozan now is his equal. I see why he chose you, said this. What do you mean? Confused by what I mentioned, the black movie. You have a power that I cannot identify. No, you have more than one power apart from the boosted gear apart. You have an aura that is very powerful. But I detect something sinister in it. A desire for revenge, said this, surprising the chestnut. How did you know? He wondered, very surprised. I can feel the aura of others, and through this aura I can detect the feelings and desires of others, Naozan explained. So, can you feel my aura and what I desire? Trying to clarify the doubt I had in his head. That's right. Incredible, said Issei, surprised at Naozan's ability. Leave it, surprised the chestnut again. Heh, he was surprised again. You must leave that desire for revenge that you have. You have to leave it. Why? Asked Issei. It's normal for you to hate those who betrayed you, and want revenge for it. But I can assure you that in the end you will end up harmed. Warning. I don't know. They murdered me and I was going to say something else, but listen, I assure you that if you are looking for revenge, you're going to end up more hurt than you were before. And I know that. From his own experience, then a memory came to his mind. Sorry, it was all I could say to all that. Think about it, boy. Do not get carried away by revenge is not an honorable path, because it only brings sadness and loneliness. I've been warning you, said this, disappearing into a black hole, surprising the chestnut. What was that? Asked, puzzled by the appearance and disappearance of the man. Until Issei, come and continue the training, shouted the samurai, calling for Issei to continue his training. Coming. How quickly time passed. I think I'll find out everything afterwards. For now I just have to concentrate on my training. Issei ran to the place where samurai was. A minute later Issei arrived in the same place where he was samurai, who was still in the position he was in. Very well, let's continue with the training, said Issei, motivated. I agree, let's continue. He put back the huge bucket of bricks and snapped his fingers, making the Issei equipment weigh too much again. The two returned to train as they had done 10 minutes ago, that is to say, Issei with his eyes covered and samurai throwing daggers, and so it was for another while the other two dragons joined the scene and watched as the chestnut strives to dodge or try to perceive blindfolded, and even the mysterious black movie was in the distance watching the scene. So this is the kind of training that samurai has for the boy. I think she'll get stronger if she keeps going down that path. I kept watching her dodge the daggers. What the hell are those daggers, infinite or what? Partner, he wants you to use your instincts and senses. But how? Let yourself go. You have to feel the atmosphere. With the advice that D-Drag gave him, he relaxed a little, enough to be calm but also with enough strength so that the bricks do not crush him. The two dragons began to see him with strangeness of what he did. The black movie had his usual cold expression, and the samurai saw what he was doing. He seemed to have understood. He whispered so that he wouldn't hear it. He threw more daggers, and Issei had apparently improved his accuracy in dodging, and the samurai intensified the speed while the chestnut concentrated on dodging the daggers but with more fluidity. I see that you finally got the message, further intensifying the launch speed. The minutes passed and Issei dodged faster while samurai increased the speed of throwing the daggers until something happened that they did not expect. Saying this D-drag, Issei managed to catch a dagger turned and threw it to the samurai, giving out of the corner of his right eye, cutting a little of his long hair. This surprised the two spectator dragons, but did not surprise either the black or blonde movie, since they expected that sooner or later he would attack with the same weapon he used. "You learn fast, friend," he said, congratulating Issei. "Thank you," then proceeded to remove the blindfold on his eyes and the brick bucket on his back. "You are someone very strong. If you continue like this, I assure you that you can do anything. And you will defeat any opponent who tries to hurt you, believe me. You will go very far if you take this path," giving it these words of encouragement. "Thank you, samurai," he said with a hint of happiness. Hollow was moved by this show of friendship on the part of the samurai, while Delthixis calmly saw the two companions with a small smile, while Neazan, who was there, remained static, as if everything that was going to happen had preceded everything. "Well, as it is already getting dark, we will continue training tomorrow. And believe me, this time it will be much more difficult," he said, all excited for tomorrow. "Okay," said this one, a little scared by the torture that would make him samurai. "Well, let's go home. It's time for dinner and I'm already hungry, this time a little hungry." What no one expected is that a stomach growl was heard coming from the stomach of Issei. "Poor Issei hasn't eaten anything in most of the day." Hollow with a little pity for Issei. "Yes, I don't think I have eaten enough," Issei said jokingly. "Don't worry, friend, I have the solution. A huge banquet for you now." Delthixis with a great desire to cook over a high heat. "Maybe let's not exaggerate so much, okay?" said Issei in a joking voice again. "It is okay, but that won't stop me from cooking a huge feast for others," again with a very lively tone. "Issei," said Samurai, and Hollow encouraged to eat. And so everyone went to the Golden Snake Village to eat, sleep, and treat the wounds of Issei. But a certain black movie observed everything that the chestnut had done. Samurai head. "That guy is a very interesting box of surprises. I hope you become stronger." Hayao to Issei. "Because what's coming is not pleasant at all," he said, disappearing into a black hole. So far Issei had not the remotest idea. But this was nothing more than the beginning of his new adventures as one of Dragon Truth's warriors. Our chestnut tree was in the same training place as the day before, and apparently the samurai had raised the level of training. What he did was to replace the daggers with hand axes, which Issei evaded with ease and great speed. "You have become more agile. It's time to move to the next level," he told Issei. "What do you mean?" said Issei, removing his blindfold. "Put the blindfold back on and you'll know what I'm talking about," the blonde ordered. When he put the blindfold back on his eyes, and again there was only darkness, but he was prepared for anything. Except the following. Bang! Hearing this noise, felt a small burning right arm, which had to put his hand on it. When he took off his blindfold, he saw something that struck him, and it was the samurai with an SVD Dragonov in his hands. "But what are you doing?" screamed hysterically and scared to see the gun. "It's the other part of the training. If you manage to stop a bullet with your hand, then this phase, that is the evasion at a distance, will be over and we will start with the hand-to-hand fight," Samurai explained, trying to calm Issei. "But a shotgun, don't you think it's a bit risky?" asked Issei, scared of what might happen. "Don't worry, I have faith that you can stop the bullet," he said, trying to cheer Issei up. "Well, okay." With distrust he put on the blindfold again. "I try to dodge the shots with excitement, but apparently I cannot stop any bullet with my hand, and so they were for a long time. That was about 3 hours. The blue movie was reading a book about fire and magma. Apparently he was a big fan of fire and everything related to it. Astaller reading quietly until Hollow appeared. "Brother, what do you think will happen to Issei?" asked Hollow with a worried tone. "I don't know. Are you worried about Issei?" Now Delthixis was the one asking. "The truth is that if the boy tries too hard to overcome in samurai training, since that is one of the hardest training that can be physically and spiritually, if you make a single mistake in the last phases of training, who knows what will happen?" Hollow said. "It's true. The last phase of physical training is very difficult. And I don't want to mention the last spiritual training. Being honest, I'm also a bit worried about it would be bad if in the end he was mentally shattered in the last phase," Delthixis also said with a small weave of worry in his voice. "Do you think I'll make it?" asked Hollow. "I think so. He's a strong boy. If you could endure pain of death and survive, you can overcome the training." "Yes, I just hope he doesn't end up hurt," Hollow said with a great weave of concern. "Don't worry, everything will work out, little brother," with a soft smile. After having chatted, the two returned to their activities that they were doing a while ago before starting this talk. At the desk was Sona Citri, who was thinking sadly about the Issei death, in addition to being with his head down and his obviously sad look. Also, like the others, she was devastated but inside, because when she heard the news there were her servants and she had to maintain the appearance of a strong woman. Kaicho, upon hearing her name, raised my head a little to see Tsubaki, vice president of the student council and queen of Sona. "Tsubaki, what brings you here?" asked the black movie when he saw that he entered. "Is Kaicho feeling well? Lately you don't seem like yourself," now Tsubaki asked, who was a little worried. It is true, the last few weeks since she heard the news she acted in a very strange way. She was colder than normal. She did not want to talk to anyone except Tsubaki. She had a somewhat sad face and avoided Rias and her entourage too much, since she also knew that she had murdered him. "It's okay, I'm fine," in a cold voice. "Really? And why does he have that sad face?" asked Tsubaki again. "For nothing," again in a cold voice. "Kaicho is serious. What happens that he is so sad?" he asked again with concern. "I told you it's nothing," now with a slight tone of anger. "Please, Kaicho, seriously, what's going on?" she asked worriedly. That's nothing, she cried out very angrily at Tsubaki's insistence. This was scared and retro a step back to see the reaction of Sona, which due concern was rising more and more. Though Tsubaki, his voice changed from cold to weak. But Kaicho, I reply this. Let you go. I need to be alone for a long time, she asked, still in a weak voice. It's okay then, she left, a little surprised by her king's attitude. Just as Tsubaki left, Sona relaxed a little in her chair and then leaned into her arms with a very sad attitude. Issei-kun, why now if they killed you? He said sadly. Then he put his arms over his head against the desk with such the change that Issei had made in the change of most of the girls that he managed to get one of the coldest people in Kyo Academy to show feelings towards him even after he died. It had been 3 hours since the Issei training reached a new level, now much more dangerous than the other previous levels, now using bullets instead of blades, or something that if you could stop easily after a few minutes decided to take a break from training. Well, maybe you're not so bad, he said when he saw the chestnut. But Issei did not see it that way. Technically he was with many wounds a little more serious, and even a bullet came in the shoulder, but Samurai healed it immediately. He was surprised to see the incredible healing power, but did not ask many questions, and continued the training until he achieved it. You are crazy. I got a bullet in my shoulder and I can't explain how you healed me so quickly, he said, surprised and somewhat angry. I'm sorry. I didn't think the rifle would deflect. At least you don't have anything on your shoulder, do you? Trying to calm Issei's cravings. Well, yes, but I hope it won't be repeated. Luckily I managed to attack the bullet'll fin with a victorious tone. Yes, now the reflex phase is complete. Next is the melee phase. The first will be with fists, then with swords, and finally with your powers, explained the blonde. I only have the boosted gear. It's all I have, and also a scalon which I don't use much, replied the chestnut. In fact, 100 more than 1 power inside you, he said, surprising Issei. More than 1 power. That's right. I do not know what they are, but I deduce that through training we can know what they are. Also, awakening a power is not easy. You need a lot of training and meditation to be able to awaken it, and more training even to apply it in combat, I warn Issei. How long would it take to awaken a power? He asked curiously. For a human, many years. But in your case I think it will not be long, since you are a thoroughbred dragon. I doubt very much that it will be too long. I think it will be in a few months at most, said Samurai. Then let's do it, said Issei, all excited to start training. But the enthusiasm was going to run out soon. Very well. Follow me. Before that, the blonde and the brown left there to go to a slightly bigger place. When they arrived they only found a lot of grass and open field where it was perfect to train with the powers, with the weapons, and to do outdoor combats on a destructive large scale. Very well. The first thing you should know is that this training will be twice as heavy as the previous one, so do not think that I will be as flexible as in the previous trainings, warned Issei, who was a little scared. Seriously, and how heavy will it be? I asked suspiciously. That heavy? Snapping your fingers. By snapping his fingers the Issei weights grew, and instead of his hands flooding in the dirt his entire arms flooded into the earth, making a couple of them in the ground and sticking Issei mass to the ground. But what happens? Now how much do they weigh? I asked, very surprised to feel the weight on his arms and feet. Now your equipment weighs 10 tons to make your agility with your fists and legs faster. Before the explanation, Issei had a face of disbelief that he has 10 tons in his arms and legs. 10 tons. You went crazy. Angry Issei screamed. I am sorry, but it's the only way for you to become strong in a short time. When you manage to get up we will start. Come back to the house for us to start. See you. And he goes in the direction of the temple. Samurai, are there? Hello? He asked, trying to receive any answer, but it was useless. Apparently he had been left alone. But True Being saw it all. Fence. He's very hell-bent on making that boy strong. I wonder what powers he will have. Let's see what happens in the passage of time, Neazan said to no one in specific, and disappearing into a black hole as always. Change of scene, Golden Serpent Village. The Dragon Boys were resting as usual until they heard the huge entrance door open. They went to see who it was and were surprised to see that it was only Samurai without Issei. Samurai Delthixis mentioned when he saw the newcomer. Where's Issei? Asked Hollow, worried he didn't see the chestnut tree. His training came to the melee phase. Saying this surprised the Dragon brothers. How many tons did you put on your equipment? Asked Delthixis, very worried about that. 10 tons, he said, and this left them both more impressed. Did you go crazy? The boy will not be able to carry so much weight. Hollow with much anger towards Samurai. Listen, the boy has to become stronger. If he wants to awaken his powers he will have to use all the potential he has, he said seriously. But why so much weight? Delthixis just as angry as Hollow. I'll explain them to you soon. While I waited for the boy here, then he stood in the lotus position with his arms folded. Just don't overdo it please. Delthixis proceeded to retreat. The goal is not to kill him, is to give it a chance. Hollow also leaves along with his brother. You would understand this if they also knew his motive. Samurai murmur, remembering something. Flashback, night after the entertainment with the daggers. The samurai proceeded to lie on his bed to sleep. However, a black hole appears in his room. Zen, what's going on? He asked calmly. It's about the boy, the Sekyute, he said in a cold voice. Are you going to talk about him again? I'm telling you, he is different from the other Sekyute and I still keep him. His brother insisted that he stop that. Maybe, but it is becoming like the previous ones. At this the samurai was impressed by what his brother said. What? Why do you say that? Apparently I didn't understand what he meant. Truth, I can see your intentions, and I tell you that they are not good at all. Neazan impressing more and more samurai. And what are they? He asked again. Revenge, he replied. Vengeance, that's right. Even if you don't notice it, it's devouring you inside. Which means he could commit a huge stupidity just by getting revenge, I explained by freezing the blonde's blood. And you have come to warn me of that, haven't you? Finding out the reason for your visit. That's right. When you get to the spiritual part of training, start with the cave. But are you sure he wants me to do that? Keep in mind that this cave is very dangerous, plus it is something that nobody knows and only a few manage to get out of that place alive. This time he warned Samurai Neazan about the advice he was receiving. I can assure you that the boy will be well as strong. If I pass the entire first phase of training, you can achieve this. If you believe in the boy, rest assured that he will succeed without any problem, he said to reassure his brother. It is okay. I'll take your advice, said the blonde. Very well. Good luck. Then the black movie started to go through a black hole as usual. Since when did it become like this? He was apparently surprised by that attitude. After that conversation, the samurai proceeded to sleep thinking about what the gothic-looking man told him. End of flashback. Returning to the present day, the samurai was still in lotus position waiting for the chestnut tree to come, but he had spent the whole day without reaching the temple. At first, samurai worried a little about what might have happened during the time of Issei's arrival at home, but then remembered that it was 10 tons that he had put in the equipment. Boy, I just hope you make it, he whispered to himself again. Everyone had already gone to sleep in their rooms and the town was silent as if it were a ghost town, and only the huge doors of the temple were open to receive the arrival of the chestnut tree to his house. But what was not expected, samurai, is that one of the 2 dragons was there, and that was Hollow, who had a clear blue pajamas. Hollow asked samurai. No, not yet, he replied. I see he sat next to the blonde. Tell me, why are you worried about him? Samurai asked him to start a conversation with the platinum movie. Is that boy a lot? And now he is surely struggling to forget everything that happened. Maybe he suffered the same as we maybe didn't. But what I can't stand is to see my friends suffering, no matter if it's a new or old one, he said with a weave of sadness, thinking about what Issei had to suffer. You've always been someone kind, Hollow. That's what I always like about you. Because it doesn't matter if it's a person who is a long-time acquaintance of yours or someone you've just met. You always care about that person no matter what it is, he said in a kind tone toward Hollow. Thank you, samurai, with a soft smile. Huh, what is that? Asked the samurai, seeing that something was approaching very slowly. It's Issei, said Hollow, who could see it from the position they were in. Seriously? Great. The 2 went running to meet the chestnut, who apparently his clothes were pulling again. Hi guys, greeting Issei, very tired. I'm glad to see that you passed the first phase of the second level. Tomorrow we will start with the second, congratulated Issei, who managed to pass the first phase. Thanks, friend. Now if you excuse me, I must rest on the ground. Saying this, Issei messed up, leaving a large mark on the ground, leaving the 2 dragons completely surprised at how much I endure. Hollow, take him home and heal him. Okay, samurai ordered. To order. Yes, it weighs, he said, complaining, but he succeeded and proceeded to enter the temple. That boy is special. Although he is getting carried away by revenge, he is an exceptional boy. He's someone amazing. I know he will have a great future here, the samurai murmured once more as he watched Hollow carry him on the back with much conflict, and he also proceeded to enter his home. Change of scene. On a mountain, the gothic black movie was contemplating the horizon illuminated by the light of the moon until, hello, I see you're here, greeted a man of about 21 years with dark, messy brown hair, violet eyes and glasses. His appearance consisted of a green coat, black pants, red sneakers with white, and a lucky with a formal white shirt. This man bore some resemblance to Delthixis. Marcus said coldly towards the man now identified as Marcus. TKS, how weird you are, said the man. I just hope your collaboration in the following events. Like our ally, it disappeared back into a black hole. Well, count me in. Now he was retiring. Time passed very quickly, and without realizing the time that passed, everyone found themselves in a strange cave. Issei had already completed all the physical training that samurai imposed on him by mastering the 10 tons he had in his training equipment, and now he was faster and more agile both with his fists than with his feet. He also trained in the art of the sword using a scalon. But back to the scene. Samurai, did you go crazy? Whispered Delthixis. Believe me, I didn't want this to happen either. But we have run out of options. You will need a lot of energy for the events that follow, replied the blonde. What is this place? Asked Issei, who had never seen this place. The Silver Wolf Cave, samurai replied. This cave is one of the most enigmatic that exist. Many have entered and very few have come out alive, Hollow explained. They say that this cave inhabits a powerful silver wolf, and the one who enters and defeats the wolf, you will be given great spiritual and magical knowledge and power, continued Delthixis. Seriously, but what do you mean by spiritual power? He asked again, since he had never heard of spiritual power that way. It is the power that arises from within the living being and everything that surrounds it. Issei, this will be the last level of your training. If you manage to defeat the Silver Wolf, you will be ready for any eventuality that comes. Samurai with a serious tone. But why speed up the process so quickly? Apparently Issei was still full of doubts. Because now with the evil dragons back, who knows when they will make their next move. And to awaken the powers you have, You will need both magical and physical power. Samurai replied again. Well, I think I'll see you in a few hours. See you. I enter the cave going into the darkness, but... Wait, Samurai stopped him. What's going on? I ask about his strange behavior. I have to tell you that those who returned don't go back to the way they were before, he told her. What do you mean? Rumors have it that the people who managed to return became more isolated than the people they cherished. I want you to be careful what you do, Samurai warned. I understand. I promise you it won't be like that. I will become more powerful, and with the power I will defeat those dragons. I promise, I affirm, Issei very decisively, entering the cave. Do you think I'll make it? Hollow very worried the chestnut. I think you can. If I manage to get through samurai training, I think he'll be able to do this, said Delthixis, calming Hollow. You're quiet, Hollow. He is strong. It even seems like there's nothing he can't do now, he said Samurai. The dragons only saw the darkness of the cave and waited for their brother to return safe and sound. Issei was walking in a straight line as he had never entered a cave as rare as this. This place was bluish, that was illuminated by glitters that looked like silver minerals that grew from the earth. This place is very weird. What's more, I have the strange feeling that I'm being watched, he said somewhat suspiciously about the appearance of the cave. This place is very strange. What's more, I've never seen this place in my life. I see. Issei sounded a little surprised, but deep down not so much. They went on like this for what seemed like 15 minutes until they ran into 3 totally different paths. Very well. Which path do you think we should take? Asked Issei. I think the left. Okay, Issei went for the left until center. They heard a very strange voice. Dreg, did you say anything? He asked in a strange voice. I didn't hear it too. Valen by the center. They heard the strange voice again. Dreg, I think you have to go to the center, he said when he heard the voice. Then the chestnut changed direction and went directly to the center, which was the main plan, that was to continue in a straight line until he met whatever he was still walking, and was like an hour or maybe more, since he had no way of knowing what time. It was finding strange scenarios of the cave as if they were bridges or stairs, until I reached what seemed like the end of the cave. He came across a stone statue in the shape of a wolf being illuminated by the sun's rays, and on both sides it had a couple of water fountains. I think we found it, exclaimed Issei looking at the statue. This time they were Neazan and Marcus looking at the horizon of the underworld and seeing the huge capital of this. The boy you and Samurai picked up as the current Sekurute, isn't he? Asked Marcus with an interesting tone. That's right. Why the question? Appealing to the chestnut question. He's a very interesting boy. He has an energy in his aura that is not seen in all Sekurute, he said with a tone of interest. Do not tell me. Are you going to test his strength? Asked the black movie, who was very surprised to want to test him. Not now. I guess he's not very aware of all the power he has inside him, so I deduce that it would be useless to try it right now. I'll wait for him to get much stronger and then test his strength, exclaimed Marcus. And what are you going to prove with that? He asked again, questioning his reasons. How strong he is to fight against evil dragons and other beasts, answering Neazan's question. Very well. Do what you want, but don't hurt it too much, warned the gothic black movie. Don't worry, I've got everything under control, said Marcus, retreating into a large mass of fire. It's just like him, he said this, disappearing into a black hole. Change of scene, Silver Wolf Cave. Issei only limited himself to seeing the large stone statue which he had in front, and being this the first time he had the statue in front of him, he did not know what to do. Hello? Reading this as if I really was going to expect a response. Several minutes later, Issei had tried everything to make something happen. I poured water from the fountains to the statue. He climbed on it, trying to make it react. He shouted like crazy to do something, but nothing, and even kicking the statue, but only ended up hurting himself in the foot. What the hell do I have to do for something to happen? Asked the chestnut tree, tired of trying everything. Show me your energy. He heard again that same voice that had spoken to him on the roads, and then looked at the statue. Is this statue talking to me? He asked in surprise. Apparently the statue remained motionless and without any reaction until the eyes of the statue shone, surprising Issei and also frightening him. Show me your energy. He heard the voice saying the same thing again, and the next thing that was going to happen would leave Issei completely frozen. It turns out that the stone statue was breaking as if it were a kind of shell, revealing a wolf with silver fur with some black touches and eyes as blue as sapphires, and rises from the pedestal walking towards the chestnut tree, completely frightened. What is this? Dreg, who is he? Asked Issei, completely frightened to have seen such a wolf. I don't know, partner. It's the first time I've seen anything like this. Apparently the two were completely surprised to see such an enigmatic being. Your desire will only bring you tragedy. Now he was more surprised to see that he also knew his desire for revenge. Change, child. Changes. Then the wolf became energy, a strange manifestation of pure energy that went straight to the chestnut tree, knocking it out completely. Issei was standing right in the main field of Kyo Academy. He was completely shocked about what he saw when he saw him return to the place where he was killed. What is this? Why am I here again? Asked Issei, completely surprised that he had returned to the place he didn't want to return. He looked everywhere to see if he could find the silver wolf, but saw him change his expression from surprise to anger. So it's you? He exclaimed angrily. He had met what he hated most now in the world, which was Ria's Gremory and her full entourage, including Irina and Ravel, all in their academy uniform and ready to fight Issei. I will never forgive them. shouted this full of fury, materializing his boosted gear and running towards the Gremmery which he hated so much. These also did the same as him. The first to attack was Akino, who was flying, and with his lightning attacked Issei. This dodged them in zigzag and jumping on Kiba's head while taking out a scallon, this time not linked to his sacred gear. This began to try to cut it in half, but this launched another ray, but the chestnut managed to block it with a scallon, making an explosion, making a great smoke screen that the black movie could not see Issei, but when he was going to turn back it was pierced by the sword of the chestnut tree. Suffers. Now he dies, he said, pulling a scallon out of Akino's corpse and throwing him Legos. Upon returning to the land, Kiba and Zenovia ran against Issei with their swords and trying to cut this blockade the blows of both swords with their sword and with the boosted gear. Zenovia tried to cut his feet, but he was faster, standing at the tip of Durandal. Then Kiba tried to cut the head of Issei, but he was faster again, dodging, making a mortal back, and incidentally gave a kick to Zenovia and a blow to the stomach to Kiba, making these two back. What happened? Is that all they have? He said, tempting both swordsmen. These two returned to attack Issei, and the first to try to hit him was Zenovia, who used her sword against the chestnut with incredible force, causing the ground to break, but Issei saw the opportunity to break his defense and cut it into two and climb horizontal. Kiba, seeing this, furious, went against Issei, but he turned around and with a strong blow sends Kiba's sword to fly, then made another half turn to bury a scallon right in the heart. Who's next? He asked defiantly. After nowhere he receives a kick from Kaneko, who manages to perceive and block with his sword, making him retreat a very large amount, but he was not far behind. He ran towards Kaneko with a scallon against the ground, causing sparks to come out, but this with great speed gave him a burst of Senjutsu and Yaojutsu against Issei, who managed to divert the attacks using a scallon. If that's all, you're in trouble, I exclaimed coldly. Running towards Kaneko at full speed, I tried to cut him in one way or another, but she also dodged at the same speed of Issei and tried to give him a very strong blow, but he stopped him very easily after he disappeared from Kaneko's side, only to cross with his bare hand behind the back. I told you, he said coldly again. After pulling his hand off Kaneko's back, he felt the fire hit his back, causing the entire area to burn, and he turned only to see Revel, who had Phoenix magic in his hands. Issei, seeing this, got very angry and was running all angry with a scallon and tried to cut it, but it flew above the chestnut tree. This also flew towards Ravel with a dizzying speed that scared her, because Issei was in front of her, only to see the chestnut sword piercing her stomach and falling to the floor totally dead. Another less, he said again, to be attacked very close to him. When he saw everywhere, he realized that Arena was in his angel mode flying. When he saw this, Issei flies at full speed to reach her, but she manages to detect the chestnut and elusive. She used her sacral powers to try to kill Issei, but she did not succeed since she used the boosted gear to protect herself. Dragon shoot. He shot a dragon beam towards Arena, doing a lot of damage and silence to the floor, totally injured. Then Issei goes to his side and then buries a scallon right in the back. Now, you, he said, pointing to Gasper and Asia, who were trembling with fear. When approaching these two, they begin to retreat, very frightened by the terrifying power of Issei, and then be pierced by their bare hands, and then their bodies fell dead on the ground. But immediately this was attacked by Norse magic coming from Roswace that was also flying. Very well, now it's your turn, Valkyrie, said Issei with much hatred. He flew quickly again, this time against Roswace. This rushed against her with a scallon, trying to kill her, but this also dodged the attack of Issei. This attempt another direct attack, but this blocked it with a magic circle. The chestnut was already desperate and tried to destroy the shield he had with many blows towards it. He kept beating until Roswace's shield broke into 1,000 pieces, and taking advantage of the opportunity, he cut it in half with his sword. And now, you follow you, he said, pointing to Rias. This invoked power of destruction to throw it at Issei, who came at full speed against Rias, deflecting with a scallon and evading each attack in zigzag movements. When he came to her, Issei jumped, stopped trying to cut it in half, but this eluded. Tried again, but returned to dodge the blow of his sword. Rias used his power to damage Issei, who survived with his power with his sword. Dragon shoot. This launched another dragon shoot towards Rias, who covered herself with another magic circle, causing there to be a great explosion which created a smoke screen that Issei quickly dissipated with a burst of power that made the redhead cover her face. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Issei ran very fast and then buried her sword to Rias right in the stomach. Elfin, said this victorious. Issei, when stabbing Rias with a scallon, raised his head to see her agonizing face of absolute pain. But what he saw was something that really terrified him and hedged all his skin. He was seen being stabbed with his same sword. Instead of seeing Rias being pierced by a scallon, the chestnut tree was surprised to see himself as if it were a mirror. Issei was totally frightened to see the gloomy image of being stabbed by himself with a scallon. Then the other Issei began to vomit blood on the other Issei who had stabbed him. This walked away a few meters horrified. What is this? What race? I don't understand. What's wrong? What's going on? What's going on here? HHH, this cry with all his strength, horrified, so that afterwards everything would break like a mirror. The chestnut tree was slowly opening his eyes to see the silver wolf in front of him. Apparently Issei had been transported to another reality in which he killed Rias and the others. And, what did you think? Asked the silver wolf. Issei was still speechless until he started talking. What was that? Asked Issei, who was very surprised. That was the lesson I wanted to give you, he said, surprising Issei. Lesson? What are you talking about? Asked Issei. Look, kid, all the people who came here were just looking for me to give them great spiritual and magical power just for a goal they all had in common. And that purpose was revenge. I want to give my power to someone who really deserves it and doesn't use it for something so mean and low. Since all those who managed to have my approval to have power, in the end they were left alone and with no one, with a weave of sadness towards the people who wanted their power. What? It seems that Issei still doesn't understand. Child, what I want you to understand is that revenge will only hurt you. I'm not telling you to forgive them. I only ask you to leave that evil feeling that will only destroy you little by little. If there's one thing you should know, it's that revenge just took away everything you had. Reconsider, child, so that you do not end up like them. The Silver Wolf told him to stop their revenge. I will try, but I don't want to suffer this again. Since I gave my life for her, I sacrificed myself for her and for others. I won't forgive them that easily. I don't want to suffer from this again, he said sadly. No matter what you do, just don't seek revenge. Don't end up like them. Since you have friends who will support you, he said, trying to support him. What's your name? Asked the chestnut tree. My name, it's Silverwolf. When you feel confused, come here, and I will help you, said this one, returning to be a stone statue. Then a warm white wave surrounded the chestnut tree, making his chest shine a beautiful silver color. Thank you, Silverwolf, he said to the statue, retreating where he came. The boys were outside waiting for Issei. Samurai was in his typical resting position. Deltaxis was lying watching the clouds with his hands on the back of his neck, and Hollow was in a corner with his hands clasped. Suddenly Samurai saw Issei coming out of the cave. Issei, Samurai said in a cheerful tone. Do I arrive? Asked the blue movie, who took his eyes away from the sky to see the cave. Huh, Issei, I exclaimed joyfully for the appearance of the chestnut tree. Hello friends, he said in a weak tone. How did it go, friend? Asked Samurai, who was worried about the tone of the Issei. I did well, but now things have changed in my opinion. At this the boys were scared. Really? Asked Deltaxis, worried. Yes, everything has changed. This alarmed the boys more as Issei walked forward and then stopped. Issei, Hollow with much concern. But that doesn't mean I changed my way of being, now with a big smile looking at his friends. Now Samurai, who was surprised by the sudden change of Issei. Yes, you are my friends. They helped me strengthen and saved me. They welcomed me with open arms even though they didn't know me and knowing that I was a reincarnated demon. Thank you very much, friends. I am very grateful, he said, touching the boys. Issei, Hollow said, very moved by that. I knew you had good feelings. That's why I saved you. Now Samurai just as moved. I don't know what to say, Issei, except thank you for being part of our family. Even Deltaxis was touched. Well, let's go home. Let's celebrate the end of Issei's training in a big way, said Samurai, cheering everyone up. Sii, said Deltaxis and Hollow in chorus. That's great. Come on, he said in a calm voice. Issei, don't worry. We will always be with you, said Samurai, grabbing Issei by the shoulders. Thank you, Samurai, thanking the words of the blonde. After that great show of friendship, the boys went to the temple to celebrate that Issei Elfin had finished his training. In addition to that, a certain black movie, I observed the whole scene. Well done, Samurai. Take very good care of the boy, he said in a tree and getting off it. In a small town near the Golden Snake Village, a burly hooded man was among the crowd of that town watching as people passed and left the place where he was, and suddenly this man takes out a kind of strange communicator. Hey, it's time, said through the communicator. Change of scenery, Golden Serpent Village. After having completed the training and having celebrated with a lot of food and drink, Issei was at the top of the temple sitting watching the different villages that were near the area, and suddenly Deltaxis enters the scene sitting next to him. How are you? He asked, watching the chestnut tree. I'm fine, he said, so as not to worry Deltaxis. The truth is that you do not seem very happy. You finished your training, I affirmed to the tone of sadness of Issei. Well, the truth is that now everything is very different. I don't see things the way I used to. I don't know how to say all this, but now that's what I feel, he said with a tone of sadness. I understand your problem. Let me tell you, that's totally normal. But you still don't have to get depressed. In addition, you'd better prepare for anything. Who knows when the evil dragons will attack? He told him to be a little calmer but prepared. Thank you, thanked him for the words of encouragement he gave him. However, the calm was going to end as soon as they heard an incredibly loud rumble, surprising both boys, but what caught their attention more, making them get up, and was that a torrent of smoke came out of one of the small towns near the town. What's going on? Asked the chestnut tree when he saw such a scene. I don't know, but that can't be a good thing, he said worriedly. Suddenly the other two dragons appeared, exalted, and one of them a little scared by what happened, since it seems that they also saw the torrent of smoke from the nearby village. Boys, come with me, said Samurai, very upset. What's going on, Samurai? Asked Issei about the samurai's attitude. The evil dragons have already made their first move by saying this. Issei and Deltaxis are surprised. Very well. Come on, Deltaxis decided. Issei, it's time for you to show everything you've learned in training. This is your first mission now, he said Samurai seriously. Yes, exclaimed Issei with a tone of determination. Change of scene, Hayadu residence. Rias was in the Issei room with a very big depression. She was very sad that she killed Issei only to replace him with Yamato. Not only she was in a strong depression, but the others were too. They felt guilty for contributing to the death of Issei almost all the time. I cried because just like Rias they also loved the chestnut. The only ones who were not like them were Kiba and Gasper. But still they were sad for murdering a kind person like Issei. Issei, I'm sorry, it's all I was saying all the time. I was incredibly devastated by what he did and kept going until a certain redhead appeared and came in with a serious look. Oni-sama now, he said with a cold tone. Rias, how do you feel? Asked Surzech, who was worried about his sister's emotional state. How do you think I feel? Betray and kill the only man I could have ever loved. The only person who really made me happy. All because of that wretch, that I take off. To my beautiful Issei, he said through tears and with a very brittle voice. Quiet, Rias. Already past, sitting next to it and burning it. The redhead cried in a disconsolate and completely sad way, but that changed when a certain maid Peli Platina appeared in a magic circle. Grafia, what happens? Asked the redhead to see that Grafia arrived without warning. Surzech-sama, there are problems. Rias, Aja-sama, call your group. Because this is bigger than it seems, this worried those present. As ordered by Grafia, Rias went to warn her entourage while Surzech asked his wife what she was talking about. The worst things were happening elsewhere. We were late, exclaimed the samurai when he saw what was in front of his eyes. This town was a small place where you could do trade and go to eat or buy something if there was no other place in the main town. But what they saw was horrible. The village was consumed by flames and most of the houses were destroyed, and not to mention the large number of corpses that were on the ground of the village. How horrible, Hollow said, all horrified to see that whole scene. So many innocent people. Who could have committed all this? Asked Issei when he saw everything. Sure, the evil dragons. Only they could cause chaos on this kind of scale. Look, Hollow said, making everyone figure in a particular structure. What happened is that Hollow and the others saw something that moved inside one of the structures that were completely destroyed. A survivor, exclaimed the masked blonde when he saw that. Then the four went to see that if that person was still alive. Delthixis was the first to check if he was, and indeed he was still alive but had a huge beam stuck in his stomach. Cough cough, Ark said the survivor, very sore because of the beam in his stomach. Relax, you're going to be fine, said Delthixis, trying to make that person relax, but it was useless. They have to get out of here fast. The man, completely weak and barely able to speak. What happened? Asked Issei in a serious tone. They attacked us. They took away everything we had. Destroyed. To all the inhabitants of our village. I'm sure I don't stay. No one. I try to talk as much as I could. Who was it? Now asked the samurai. A dragon. And the man. Hooded. Before this the boys became more tense. What was the dragon like? Hollow continued with the interrogation. It was huge and green. Before this they were again more tense. I see Issei looking back. They must flee. Or who? You know what? We'll pass. The man with his last breath. Huge and green. There's only one evil dragon with those characteristics, Delthixis said, waiting for someone to say the name. Grenle. I should have known. Only he would create senseless destruction, said Rubio. But why would they want to attack a village that is technically weak and small? It doesn't make sense. Hollow wondered until. It's simple. It's to get our attention, said Issei, causing his friends' gazes to form toward the. How do you know? Asked Delthixis. What Grenle really wants is to fight with us, so he got bored and started destroying the whole neighboring town just to get bored. He has to be around here for sure. At this deduction the dragons began to think about it. And where do you think this is? Asked Samurai before the chestnut theory. That's what we have to find out. Where they went, back up this, making the samurai and Issei move to another point. Who do you think the hooded man is? Asked Hollow to Delthixis. I don't know, but this gives me a very bad spine. What I suggest is that you keep your eyes open, Hollow. Who knows what the evil dragons are plotting this time, warned the blue movie. Now the dragons went to look for some indications about the current whereabouts of Grenle and the hooded man, inspecting the village, which the flames were already a little more extinguished and less dangerous than when they arrived. The Gremory group together with the Citri group was watching with surprise that the leaders of the three factions were here. Excuse me, but why have you called us? Asked Sona, who even she did not expect to be. What happened, Sona-chan, is that something out of the ordinary is happening, and we fear that some new terrorist group is creating senseless chaos to start a war, Serafal replied. That's right, but the issue is that we cannot be sure that it is a terrorist attack since we have not found any indication that it is, as Isel explained. What do you mean? Now it was Rias who asked. I mean, there's not a shred of evidence to prove a terrorist attack, since every place that has been devastated was completely empty in terms of testing. Not a single flag, weapon, nothing, as Isel explained again. But during all those attacks, haven't you found anyone to claim that? Asked Kiba. No, none. Technically they only attack small towns, and we have not found any survivors. I wish we knew who is behind this, but without any clue or witness to tell us what happened. We cannot assure that they are terrorist movements, Surzech said, responding to Kiba's question. That's why we need help to find out who is behind this issue to prevent them from destroying more villages, Michael with a serious tone. Then we will send surveillance teams around the entire area of Japan to find the bad guys who are doing this, Sona decisively. We will help in any way we can, Rias now said. Not bad. We will send surveillance teams too. Before I could say anything else, a messenger came in very excited. What's going on? Asked Azazel. Gentleman panting. We already know the cause of the destruction of the villages, he said between gasps. What's going on? Now Serafal asked. It's Grenle. He's alive. And a few minutes ago one of those who was in a small town warned us that he destroyed it completely, he said, impressing everyone. What? They all shouted excitedly. Scenario change, empty fields. The boys saw Grenle along with a hooded man. This man is resting in lotus position while the evil dragon was lying on the ground growling and seems to be sleeping too. Until, hello, gentlemen, salute the samurai. Samurai, so long without seeing each other, said the hooded man. Samurai, do you know him? Asked Issei, since he didn't know what relationship he had with that man. Let's say that this man and I had certain problems that led us to be enemies a long time ago, he said hatefully. That's right. I see that now you have a new partner. I detect a sacred gear in the Longinus if I'm not mistaken, he said, surprising the chestnut. It's true. This boy you have in front of you is Issei. The current Secretary. When mentioning the boy, Grenle stood up, showing his large size. So this brat has D-Drag locked in his body. Not bad. I feel a great power coming from him, I mentioned the now incorporated Grenle. Issei, where this Deltaxis told him that I hand him a kind of black hood. What for? He asked again, now confused about the delivery of this. People approach, and believe me, you didn't like to see those people coming saying this. Issei took the hood and put it on with a hat and everything. So that child is the Secretary. Not bad, said the mysterious man, seeing the newly hooded chestnut. Samurai only limited himself to looking with distrust at the mysterious hooded man, who fixed his gaze towards Issei. What do you want now? The blonde asked the mysterious hooded man. I just want to prove how strong you've become since the last time we met. I'm not fond of fighting, but I'd like to know. Other than that, I want to know what that boy is like. This tense things more. What do you mean? Samurai very suspicious of this man's words. I just want to see how strong they are. Don't worry, you'll get help for sure. Or won't Ria's Gremory? At these words the Dragon Truth turned to see Ria's Gremory along with her entourage, and apparently they were not alone, also accompanied by the entourage of Sona Citri. Before all these presences Issei was confused, but thanks to the hood that gave him Deltaxis they did not recognize him. Issei, you'd better not activate your boosted gear until it's necessary. We don't want to take any more risks that they will later turn against you to kill you, Deltaxis whispered to him, since they thought the Gremories would kill him, and he just nodded his head. I wonder if only you will come, said the mysterious hooded man, seeing everyone. We will also participate, a voice which almost everyone recognized. A celestial magic circle appeared, showing Vali with her team, who were Kuroka, Biku, Arthur, and Lefei. Hello Shire 9, Kuroka greeting her sister while she just saw her. Who else needs to come? Samurai asked. Better be more careful with your questions, brother. Suddenly a cold and sinister voice appears behind Samurai. Zend. He was surprised to see his brother behind him. There is the wretched man who attacked me. I will make you pay longer, he thought with an angry face towards Neazan. The truth is that I expected something more exciting. Just an evil dragon. What a disappointment, he said with obvious disappointment. Marcus, exclaimed Deltaxis, surprised at the presence of the violet-eyed chestnut. Hello Deltaxis. So long that we didn't see each other. It will be fun to fight together again, said Marcus, very amused. Deltaxis, who's him? Asked Issei to the blue movie. I'll tell you later. Now we have a lot of problems, he said, since he was in a big bind. I see that almost everyone came to fight us. Or rather only against Grenle. Now I don't want to fight. So see you later. The mysterious hooded man proceeded to retreat into a magic circle. This will be a lot of fun to fight against all of you, the dragon wanting to start the battle. Very well all. We have to stop Grenle at all costs. Use all your powers, Rias told her Sakito. Hi Boucho, they all said. No matter what happens, fight until the last minute, now Sona said to his entourage. Hi Kaicho, they said now. The respective Citri and Gremory groups were already prepared for battle. Let's fight. Vali totally excited to fight. Vanishing Dragon Balance Breaker. He entered Balance Breaker mode and his other companions took out their weapons to fight. Very well, let's fight, Samurai said as a purple aura emanated and her hair turned black with a blonde fuse. To order Deltaxis and Hollow in chorus, taking fire and ice out of their hands. It is okay. Come on now, Neazan emanating a dark aura. Perfect, because I already wanted to fight, he said as excited as Vali, and from his hands he also took a fire equal to that of Deltaxis. Understood, hooded Issei. Very well. It's time to fight, said the blonde again. And now everyone was preparing for a legendary fight against the evil dragon. Everyone present was watching Grenle already prepared to fight, and suddenly all together they pounced on the dragon, but he used his whole arm to give them a very strong blow that made them all retreat. It's very strong, Issei with a little pain. Don't tell me, said sarcastic Samurai. What's wrong? Is that all? Said Grenle defiantly. You'll see. Deltaxis, Hollow, stop your arms and legs, I order the blonde black movie. To order, said the two mentioned in chorus. The two were running towards him and Deltaxis began to create in his hands two whips of fire that with them tried to contain the huge hands of Grenle, while Hollow used ice to freeze his feet. Not bad, but it's not enough, I shout this to both. Then he took the whips that pressed his hands to send the blue movie to fly, while the ice on his feet destroyed them very easily, and sent a great kick to Hollow that made him fly right next to Issei. Seeing this is going full speed. That, come here child of, I was going to say something else, but a huge ball of purple energy from the samurai. While Issei ran fast, Grenle tried to hit him, but this jumped very high and dodged it with ease and then climbed on his arm and kicked the dragon that incredibly made him back. Issei has become stronger. The training that samurai gave him was effective, he whispered the blue movie, trying not to let anyone hear him. You do it well, brat, you are strong. Let's see how far that strength of yours can go, clasping his fists like a hammer and trying to hit the chestnut tree but dodge it almost by brushing. Suddenly a great mass of power from destruction hit the dragon, causing it to back off just a little and then turn its attention to Rias and Sona with their groups. Yamato, Zenovia, to order to those mentioned above. Hi Boucho, said the two. Yura, Baruko, help them now. It was Sona who ordered them. Hi Kaicho, running towards the dragon. This realized and was going to kick them, but this was stopped by a fire whip by Deltaxis. The two Gremory knights jumped as high as they could and cut his chest in the shape of X that let run a small trail of blood. Brats, now you see, then I provide a big blow to the two of them also by making them fly just like hollow. Now came Yura, who with a strong blow to the same wound made him back down and complain a little about the pain he had, while Raruko gave him a leg just like where Yura gave him. Dwarf, don't bother. Then he gives them a big blow that sends them flying just like Yamato and Zenovia. Akino, Rosway, Serena, come on. Asia goes to heal the boys, I order them mentioned. Hi, said the blonde, who ran to the two of them. Kaneko, distract him. He was now headed to Kaneko. Hi Boucho, going into Nekomata mode and running towards the dragon. The three took out their demon wings and flew towards the dragon, while Akino already had her priestess costume and Rosways her Valkyrie armor. Kaneko, who was running towards the east, Grenle saw her and tried to trample her with her huge paws, while Akino used her holy ray. Rias with her power of destruction and Rosways with Norse magic attack him, and Arena with her angel mode and throwing sacral power. But this managed to resist all the attacks, even though the other two hairlines were not far behind, as Sona launched water magic and Tsubaki was ready to use her mirror Alice. Resist all our attacks as if they were nothing. It's starting to distress me, said Issei, a little worried about the current situation. Then Volley entered the scene flying quickly with his armor on and tried to hit Grenle, but he was faster and stopped him with a stronger blow, causing him to back away. Suddenly Kuroka starts using Senjutsu against him, but it was useless. Lefei used her ice magic to try to damage him, but it did not help much either. It's very powerful. What is your body made of? He wondered, complaining. Suddenly Biku in his cloud tried to jump towards Grendel's head, however he realized and caught him with his hand to throw him away, while Arthur drew his sacred sword Excalibur ruler to jump and try to cut his hand, but this attempt was in vain. When he saw that the green dragon did not work, I tried to bite him with his jaws, but a gust saved him from the huge bite. Are you okay? I'm fine, he said coldly and put back on the floor. Now Issei ran against Grenle again, this time to try to bury his skeleton right in the heart, but suddenly, seriously, lightning are in trouble, he said quietly, still running. Suddenly two fireballs hit the dragon coming from Deltaxis and Marcus, who were hit by the same platinum movie. Hollow used his power of ice to create stalactites that blocked Grendel's feet, creating some wounds on his feet, but broke the ice again that had him prisoner and then hit him hard with his tail. Then Samurai, with a lot of purple energy in his hand, hit the dragon right in the wound that Yamato and Zenovia had given him, but this again joined his hands to make a hammer and hit Blackhair with blonde wick, sending him to fly. They do it very well. Very well. Better than those brats. But it's still not enough, Grenle said excitedly. Suddenly a black gust was crossed next to the green dragon, and Neozan appears in front of him, only to have ready a large mass of something that looked like darkness and threw it, causing great impact on him. But that did not stay like that, since green dragon tried to hit him, but none of this hit him. Then Issei, who was still with his hood on and almost intact, ran again to all speed to make a big jump and hit Grenle on the chin, causing him to back up again. Fence strength that you have, child. It's just like mine. Possibly stronger than me. I'm liking this, he said, happy to find someone stronger than him. Well, this is tiring me. He thought this before receiving a great blow from his tail that he stopped with difficulty due to the strength that the dragon had tried to give him. A blow that Issei elusive, jumping and then climb again on his hand and give him a great blow and wound caused by Yamato and Zenovia, and then he was pushed by Grendel's hand, which made him back in a very brutal way, making the chestnut returned with his tired companions. This is Grabe. If we don't stop it now, it will destroy all the villages it finds. We have to hurry up and defeat it as soon as possible, Deltaxis, making everyone tense. If only I could use a Scallon or the boosted gear for a few seconds, we could beat it. You can use it, but they'll immediately know it's you. By the way, Deltaxis, how come they didn't realize it's me? Since there are two Nekomatas here and that breed can detect and identify the presence of others, I ask, whispering to Deltaxis. That's because I use a special magic on the hood you're wearing. It can hide even the slightest trace of your aura for any creature. But if you channel your sacred gear, that magic will break and they will recognize your aura, I explain, whispering to Issei. I understand, exclaimed Issei, trying to understand what I explained. The blue movie. Come on, what's all you have? Shouted Grenle to everyone. Guys, we have to use all our powers, Issei asked his friends. We can't. If we use them all our powers, we would create more catastrophes than we want to avoid, explained Samurai. It can't be, he exclaimed, furious at not being able to do anything, since all his strength was useless. However, he saw how all the Gremory group tried to attack him with everything they had, but even so it was not enough. Grenle was still standing. This is useless. If only Issei, said Rias kneeling. Now the Citri entourage attacked with everything he had. Saji trying to hold the dragon his absorption line, the others trying to hit him or hurt him, Tsubaki trying to stop his attacks, and Sona using her magic, but also everything was useless. We can't do anything. If only Issei-kun, Sona said, and everything weak and tired. Then Vali's group tried the same. Lefei tried to use his most powerful spells, but they hardly hurt. Biku tried to stoke some blow, but it was also useless. Arthur tried to use Caliburn, but it did not have any effect, and even Kuroka tried to use all the power of Senjutsu and Yaojutsu that she had, but none of that was effective. This is impossible. If only Issei-sama. Now, said Lefei. I was alive, the three girls had said at once with great sadness. Issei had heard that since they were not far from their current position. And I was so surprised to hear that from those girls. He was surprised by Lefei because she always saw him as a television star of the underworld and nothing else, or so he believed. Also of Sona because she was the cold president of the student council, and it seemed almost impossible that she wanted someone to return to life, especially but who was most surprised was Rias. The person who betrayed him wanted him to be alive. But the surprise lasted little when he remembered the current situation, so he wanted him to return to help them. How come he's so strong? It doesn't make sense, Hollow asked, complaining about the dragon's absurd resistance. Neozan before the question began to observe the dragon fighting against the groups and then noticed something that was out of the ordinary and went with his brother Samurai. You noticed, right? I asked the black movie to the samurai. Yes, there is something different about he's not the same Grenle we fought a long time ago. Something is very wrong. But I cannot identify what it is, said the black movie with blonde wick. After a few seconds the two brothers managed to find out what did not fit the current situation in which they were. That was, said the samurai, making the other dragon truth set their sights on the. What was that? Asked Deltaxis to the reaction of the black-haired with blonde wick. To Grenle. They've increased his power more than he had before, Neozan said, shocking the boys. But how? Asked Hollow. We don't know, but most likely using some kind of amplifying energy, since it is the only thing that can increase the power in such a way that it is as it is now, Deltaxis explaining to the chestnut tree. But how does it change the matter? Asked Issei. It means we've found a way to defeat him, Marcus said. How shall we do it? Asked Issei. Issei, use your boosted gear samurai order. What? The blue movie and the platinum movie didn't believe what I was hearing. Are you sure of that? I doubt Issei about the samurai plan. I'm sure that if you use it, we will have the victory assured, I affirmed the blonde black movie. But, the Gremmery, and the Citri. He wanted to say something else, but the samurai took him by the shoulders to tell him. You don't worry, we'll watch your back if something bad happens. I promise, said the samurai, trying to make Issei relax. Do not worry, we are here to help you now, said Deltaxis. Remember, we are your friends, Issei, and friends always help each other, Hollow with an angelic voice. Partner or not, we are together, this Neozan with voice cold but encouraging. I will always help a friend of Deltaxis, Marcus with fun. Given these signs of affection from his friends and colleagues, this helped him make a decision faster. It is okay. He trusted you, Issei told his friends. Very well. We will save time so that you can gather all the energy you need to end the. We count on you, I indicate the blonde black movie. Thus the dragons were to contribute to the battle that was developing against Grenle, while the chestnut was limited to see the scene and take a lot of courage to not only face against them, but to face his past and his former friends, those who betrayed him. If Dreg, it's time to face this. With his head held high he said with a soft smile. Remember, I will always be by your side, no matter what happens. Thank you, Dreg. If you are a friend, growing your smile. Yes, if we stop feeling sentimental. It's time to teach Grenle a lesson. Let's go. Boosted gear. When he said the name of his sacred gear, it materialized in his left arm and he started walking until he came face to face with the green dragon. Fence. What do we have here? Said Grenle, looking at the boosted gear. That's right. This is me. And my present duty is finish you off, he said, taking off his hood in epic fashion, making everyone see that it was Issei. In addition to seeing it, everyone was open and frozen except for Vali, who knew that Issei was alive, but the others believed that Issei was dead. Issei. Is it really Issei? Asked Rias, totally impressed that it was Issei, but inside she was very happy and relieved. Incredible. Issei-kun is alive, Sona said, impressed and with a smile, which left his entourage more shocked, especially Saji, who inside was jealous of making Sona smile. Issei-sama, he's alive. What a joy now, Lefei with much happiness and tears in her eyes from the emotion of knowing that Issei was alive. Very well, dwarf. It seems that now you will use your full potential. Grenle, who was thrilled to know that Issei would fight with all his power. Prepare, for I shall have no compassion on you. Balance breaker. Welsh dragon balance breaker. Then Issei lit up in a green light that provided him with a red armor with green jewels, and having materialized a pair of huge red wings appeared on his back and taking out a scallon now linked to his boosted gear. Very well, boy. Now you will see who you are. This was interrupted by the incredible speed with which Issei hit Grenle right on his wound. Aarg, you are a brat full of surprises, he said, paralyzed by the pain he felt. I don't intend to forgive you for what you've done, he said coldly. He again lunged at him while this attempt blocked the blow, but used a scallon to cut off his hand that many tried, but only he succeeded. At this Grenle roared with pain and strength at his lost hand. Conceited dwarf. How can you cut off my hand? Dies. Using his unsliced hand he tried to hit Issei, who stopped the command with ease. If that's all, you're in trouble. Boost. Dragon shoot. He threw his dragon ray against his other hand that was now burned, and it roared again with great fury. Say goodbye to Lizard, said Issei, now carrying all his power and with an almost illegible speed before the eyes of many. This hit the chest of the dragon where the wound was impressed until it was reaching the bottom of the body until the next thing happened. He went through it. He had pierced his chest with his fist, causing it to have a hole in it, and when he did, a kind of green energy came out. To Issei did not care much, but he realized that Grenle's corpse began to collapse towards the ground. Watch, mate, cried Deltaxis, taking Issei out of the way. And as a huge curtain of dust and rocks collapsed, it rose so that those on the ground had to cover their faces a little to avoid the nuisance of the earth, while the dragons were in the sky looking at Grenle's body. So this gave him all that power. No wonder he was so unstoppable, said Samurai when he saw him. This really was one of the craziest fights of my life. Who knows, said Deltaxis. Well, let's go home before something bad happens. Now Issei, who wanted to get out of that place as soon as possible. Following the advice of the chestnut, the dragons went to the Golden Snake Village to rest for a while until the dragons make their next move. While certain people were still stoned when they saw what they saw. My beautiful Issei is alive. What a great joy, said Rias with immense joy. Issei-kun, I knew they couldn't kill you easily. Sona with a little smile. Issei-sama is alive. What a great happiness, Lefei, even with tears in her eyes. Issei-san, how good that you are alive, said Kuroka. Very well, all. Let's go home, Rias to her group. Hi Boucho, they said in a cheerful chorus. Let's all go. And not a single word of what they saw. Is that clear? Returning to being the same, Sona Citri. Hi Kaicho, his frightened group said. Lefei, Kuroka, let's go, Volley told them, and they obeyed. While everyone was leaving, a certain hooded man was watching everything. Not bad. It is potential. Let's see if he can stop the others, he said, disappearing. After the battle against Grenle, the dragons were preparing to fly to the temple to rest a little and wait for the next move of the evil dragons. But something was bothering one of them, and that was Deltaxis, who was thoughtful about the incredible power that the chestnut gained based on the training that Samurai had given him. That force, that speed and power. Samurai training gives incredible strength and power. But the power that Issei demonstrated surpasses the power of the training that Samurai proposes. What did he see in the Silver Wolf Cave that gave him all that power? He muttered inwardly as he recalled Issei's demonstration of powers. Hollow asked the blue movie when he saw his pensive face. Oh, nothing. I was just thinking it's it, he said so as not to worry his younger brother. His power is amazing, isn't it? Marcus had joined the conversation. Yes, he demonstrated an out-of-this-world power. Just by using his balance breaker he beat Grenle with enormous ease. I mentioned the blue movie, watching the chestnut sideways. He's someone very interesting. How did he get all that power? Asked Marcus to see if either of them would answer him. We don't know. I just entered the Silver Wolf Cave, and came back different, hollow with a tone of concern towards Issei. I understand. So I go into that cave, said Marcus with great interest. The boys after that continued on their way to their home, but Samurai could tell that something worried Issei as he saw on his face an obvious expression of concern, but they went on their way so as not to be distracted. When Gremory and Citri's entourages returned, they notified everything about the mission down to the smallest detail and were surprised to learn that Issei was alive, but Serafal is overflowing with joy that even jumped around repeating again and again that Issei was alive, making Sona blush and embarrassed. One Sama, please behave, said Sona, who was embarrassed and red-faced. I am sorry. He said he couldn't help but be overjoyed to know that Issei-chan was alive. Serafal with a tone of joy. We are all happy about that, Serafal. Well, you have to calm down, said Surzech, trying to calm Serafal's tempers. In addition, I'm afraid there's something else you should know, Sona very seriously, that made Serafal's mood turn into seriousness. And what is it? Asked Azazel curiously. Apparently Hayatu Issei joined another group, and not only that, just activating his balance breaker defeated Grenle in the blink of an eye, he said, alerting them. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. Issei had defeated an evil dragon with such ease that they were even very afraid of such power. Really? Asked Ajuka fearfully. That's right. Even before activating it I could hit it very hard and push it back, Tsubaki continued. At this Azazel and Michael were surprised, and the Maoist trembled like jellies, because if Issei hated the demons this sure would not hesitate to destroy them. I don't care how powerful Issei became. I just want him to come back to my side so that everything is as before, Rias said decisively in her eyes. Rias, I don't think Issei-kun wants to see us now. At Surzech's words, Rias was surprised. Oni-sama, what do you mean? Asked Rias. Isn't it obvious, Rias? You and your group were the ones who betrayed and murdered Issei-kun. Most likely, he wants revenge on you and others. It's sure he's planning it in these seconds. At what Sona said, the whole occult club started thinking about it. That doesn't matter. We will explain to Issei-kun everything that happened and sure that he will forgive us, said Irina with great joy. Yes, most likely. So Issei-san, forgive us, now, said Asia with a tone of hope to be with Issei. Now all the Gremories were motivated to find Issei and explain to them about what happened and why they did that. Then we will send search teams to find Issei-kun. Surzech contributed, encouraging them even more. We will help too, added Azazel. Heaven is willing to give help to find Hayatu Issei. Michael with a smile. Incredibly, the three factions came together for only one reason, which was to find Issei so that Rias and her entourage would apologize and explain themselves. My cute Issei. Just wait, Rias said with high hopes of finding Issei. Change of scene, Golden Serpent Village. Upon returning home, everyone went to rest after that fight against the evil dragon, and Deltaxis began to make dinner for the boys. When it was time to eat, the boys arrived at the meza except one of them. That was Issei. Where is Issei? Asked the samurai in his absence. I don't know. Maybe he got lost in the corridors again. This place is like a labyrinth, replied the blue movie. If you don't arrive on time, you will miss dinner. I'll go get him. Saying this, Hollow immediately went to get the chestnut tree in his room. As soon as he had left the dining room, Hollow immediately went to see if the chestnut tree was in his room. But when he entered, he was surprised that Issei was not. The window of the room was open, and this obviously alerted a lot. He ran out of the room to warn of the escape of Issei. Boys, Issei escapó, Hollow said very excitedly. What? Shouted everyone except Naozan. It's true. When I went to his room, only the window was open. There were no traces of him anywhere, explained the Platinum movie. We have to go find it. Who knows what is happening to him right now? Come on. After the samurai had said this, 4 of the 5 left until. Don't worry, he will return. At this, all eyes were on Naozan. What do you mean? Asked Deltaxis. I can assure you that the boy will be fine. In addition, he needs all the space we can give him, so that he can clarify his ideas as much as possible, Naozan said, calming the cravings of others. At the words of the black movie, those returned to their seats and sat down to dinner. At first they were worried and ate slowly, but after a few minutes they began to devour their food voraciously and frantically. Issei, come back soon, friend, Hollow said with much concern. With a hood to hide his aura that he borrowed from the armory of the temple, Issei was walking through the streets of Kyoto to reflect on the things that had happened. Besides that, he missed his home very much, but he knew that he could not reveal himself to the world or go to his old house, since he thought that Rias and others would hunt him down to kill him. It will only be for a short time, D-Drag. In addition, I miss my house. But you're not coming back, are you? Don't think I'm not stupid. I'll just be a couple of minutes, then I'll be back. Issei kept walking aimlessly through the city of Kyoto, trying to think of something else, but instinctively took him to the place he least wanted, and it was the Kyoto Academy. That there were still people inside. How did I get here? I'd better get away before something bad happens, he said as he cautiously left. I don't think anything bad can happen now, said a voice which alarmed Issei. Who's there? He asked, going into battle mode. When asking this, at the entrance of the academy, a black movie with thick lenses was leaning on one side of said entrance with its arms crossed and leaning on the wall. Before the appearance of this, Issei had become very tense due to what could happen. Sona Citri said suspiciously when seeing the black movie. Do not worry, Rias is not here. Besides, I'm not going to tell anyone that you're here, Issei-kun, Sona said, trying to calm Issei's nerves. How did you know it was me? This hood conceals even the slightest trace of the aura of the one who wears it, he explained while asking how he discovered it. That hood, even if it's not the same, it's exactly the same as the one you wore in the battle against Grenle. In addition, I would recognize your voice in any and all circumstances. No matter the noise or how much you modify your voice, I could identify it from a kilometer away, she explained. You are very intelligent, also very beautiful. Before these compliments, Sona tried not to blush to maintain her image of cold woman before Issei. Thanks, trying to hide your blush. But flattery aside, what do you want? He asked, for having seemed like that out of nowhere. I wanted to ask you a few questions before this. Issei prepared for any questions. It is okay. Question, said the chestnut to the black movie. Where were you, and why did you never come back? Asked the black hair by way of interrogation. The first question, I can't answer it as to the second. I didn't go back because if I did, they would hunt me down to kill me again. Also, if I tried to stay in my house and never leave, it would be useless, since Rias and the others live in my house, which is now no longer mine, I said with a little sadness. I understand. But why don't you want to say where you were? Asked the black movie again, because the chestnut did not answer. I'm afraid of what might happen if I say where I'm living now. If I do, possibly destroy everything, and maybe a lot of innocent people will die. I can't allow it, trading his sadness for decision. It seems that you are willing to protect many people from danger. You really sound like a hero now, the black movie flattered the chestnut. Thank you. I hope you understand why I can't tell you, he said in a friendly tone. It is okay. But do you have any idea what's going on now? We have reported that you are alive to the Maoists. Is more, we have it to the leaders of the 3 great factions, and now the whole underworld is looking for you, Sona, with a slight weave of concern. I am aware of it. I know that I made a very risky decision about having appeared, and made that decision because we were running out of options in those minutes. But I don't care. Now I have loyal friends who protect me. In saying this, the black movie was curious about what it was talking about. Friends? He asked with genuine interest. That's also complicated. I can't reveal their identities because I don't want to put them in a big bind. If they want to show themselves to the world, but of course if they want, he said with great kindness. Understand. You know, I noticed something different in you, as if you had changed something about yourself. What happened? He asked with more interest about the change of the chestnut tree. I guess something changed and my change maybe it's the fact that I'm no longer a pervert with that crazy obsession with breasts. With all that said, Sona is surprised in great quantity. Wait, aren't you a pervert anymore? Did you change? Asked Sona, totally incredulous at those words. Yes, when Riaz betrayed me and murdered me along with the others. He said words that really opened my eyes, things that were very true and that even if he denied them, deep down I knew it's the truth. This also surprised Sona and she was curious about those words. I see. I just want to ask you one last question and you can go, he asked Issei. Of course. Question exclaimed to ask the question. Do you still want to be the king of the harem? He asked, hoping for a yes, but no, I don't want to go back to what I suffered before. And if I wear that mint, most likely it will happen again, he said again with much sadness. Sona couldn't believe it. The biggest pervert in the history of Kuo Academy had ceased to be. I leave that silly obsession with breasts that fascinated her so much. He left even his greatest dream in oblivion only because of the betrayal that his mistress had done to him, who was also the woman he was also in love with. After that conversation, Issei turned around and retreated, leaving Sona still stunned. Issei, I'm sorry. If I had been there I could have avoided it, he said sadly. Change of scene, Golden Serpent Village. The dragons were in the temple waiting for their Issei friend to come back from who knows where. Hollow was sleeping. Deltaxis was reading a book about magma and the like. Samurai was meditating. Marcus drumming with his fingers on a table, and Neazan was at the entrance of the temple. Huh, said Neazan, seeing how someone approached. Approaching little by little, a boy with a black hood approached the black movie, deduced that it was Issei because it was heading here and they were already face to face. Hello, Neazan, said Issei, removing the hood from his head. Welcome, Neazan, coldly. At this, the chestnut tree and the black movie entered the temple and went to where the others who were worried about him were. These, seeing Issei, ran and stood right in front of him to ask him many questions about where he was, so he calmed them down and told him that he had gone out of town to clarify his ideas. Issei, next time you leave the village, please let us know in advance, is that okay? I don't want anything bad to happen to you, he asked Issei with concern in his voice. Don't worry, Samurai. I will warn you the next time I leave the village. When I said this, everyone calmed down. I told them I was coming back, Neazan told them. It is okay. We should have trusted you more, Deltaxis. How did you know I was coming back? Asked Issei, curious at what he said. Your aura has changed since you entered the Silver Wolf Cave. It's no longer the same revenge-infested aura you had before when I saw you training with Samurai, Neazan explained. I see. Well, I'm back, and I feel happy to return. Thanks for waiting for me. It's dinner time, isn't it? Asked Issei, since he is not aware of the time he spent outside the village. Yes, we were waiting for you to eat. Since without one of our brothers things would not be the same, Samurai encouraging everyone to eat. I said Deltaxis and Hollow, who were dying of hunger. I wanted to eat something, said Marcus, who was also hungry. I'll agree, Neazan said in a cold voice again. After all the starving words, the boys proceeded to spend the afternoon as they wanted, as they were completely worried about the chestnut. However, Issei was the only one who ate because he had not dined at all. Issei still did not eat on a large scale as his friends did. After dinner and a few hours after they spent the afternoon as they wanted, the boys went to sleep while Issei went to the roof of the temple to sit on the shore in front of the statue of the snake and the dragon to see the stars and the moon that they always contemplated since he was a warrior of the Dragon Truth Organization. Yes, it relaxes me, the truth. It's one of the things I love most about this place. Apart from the tranquility it offers, Issei with soft voice. I see you enjoy this. Well, it's a nice place to live and have a good time relaxing away from worry, said this watching the moon. You're right, this place is very interesting. Really, well, I think it's time to go to sleep. It's been a very tiring day and I want to regain some of the energy I lost in the battle and still don't get back. Okay, good evening, partner. Good night. Drag wished you good night too. After having said this, Issei got up from his place to observe the stars and went to his room that he managed to locate very easily since he began to study the plans and drew a map of the structure to be more sure of the location of the rooms. Why do I have a hunch that things are going to get too complicated for me? Sure, it should just be a hunch. Then he went to his bed and started sleeping. In a tree in the middle of the forest above a cloudy sky, Neazan stood with his arms folded looking into the emptiness of the sky as if he was thinking about something, but his peace was disturbed by presences that were well known. He looked everywhere looking for those presences until he found them. It was the Gremlins. Apparently they were looking for something. He deduced that they were looking for Issei, who had already been alive, and thought they were looking for him to kill him, but... Excuse me, Rhea shouted towards the black-haired man. This, seeing that they called him, quickly disappeared into a black hole to appear in another in front of the Gremlins, who were surprised to see how quickly he appeared, and even Gasper hid behind Kaneko for protection. What? Neazan said in a sinister, cold voice. Let me introduce myself, sir. My name is... This one was going to say something else, but it was interrupted. Rhea's Gremlin, heiress of the Gremlin clan and sister of the current Mao Surzech Lucifer. Yes, I know you. What do you want? Asked the black movie. At this the redhead was surprised but saved the trouble of introducing herself, so she continued to explain the purpose of her visit. Look, as I understand it, you have information about what's going on, don't you? She said with an authoritative tone. Yes and no, replied Neazan. What do you mean? Now asked Takino. We have some information about it. but the information we have is somewhat limited. Even if we do know certain things about what happened, I explained to the question. Anyway, I would like to invite you and your classmates at Kyo Academy. We want you to explain to us what you know about this event, saying it again with an authoritative tone. What if we don't want to? He asked defiantly. Then they will suffer the consequences. By saying this, the aura of Rias rose, increasing her power of destruction. The black movie began to raise its power, and the aura that emanated was dark, gloomy, and more powerful than that of Rias, that even made the ground shake, and continued to rise and rise, making the Grenle group tremble and shut up. But who was more scared than anyone was Gasper. After the great demonstration of power of the black movie, this under his aura, to see the scared face of these. Tell me, do you feel brave now, girl? He asked again defiantly. Rias and the others were speechless, so he was able to make the black movie, and if he could have done that, then they assumed that his friends might be able to do atrocities of colossal proportions. Well, at least, they could, and tell us what they know. Is that all we want is to avoid a possible catastrophe, said Rias, still in shock at his power. I will talk about it with the others. After having said this, Neozan disappeared into a black hole as usual. Rias, do you really think any of them are going to explain it? Asked Akino again, thinking that this would attract Issei. I hope, Akino, since I need to be sure of what's really going on, Rias said with a little fear. Change of scenery, Golden Snake Village. The dragons were tasting enough lunch as usual, but Issei was the only one who ate little, and they kept eating until. Samurai, said Neozan, who appeared behind the samurai, surprisingly causing him to jump very high on the table, almost destroying it. Brother, don't appear like this out of nowhere. You know that when I'm eating quietly here I'm very relaxed, and this happens? Samurai exclaimed, completely angry. I am sorry. Is that I have a very important notice. The Grenle have summoned us to their territory. In the Kyo Academy, to be more precise. At this news everyone was surprised, but even more Issei. And what do they want? Asked Marcus about this. Apparently they want us to explain to them about the evil dragons and what's going on, Neozan explained. It smells like a trap to me, Hollow said, very suspicious of the information. What do you mean? Asked Delphixis at Hollow's statement. What is not obvious? The Grenle are preparing an ambush for us and then locking us up and killing Issei. It's too obvious. It must be a trap, said the Platinum Movie in a serious voice. Hollow is right. This of giving explanations to the Grenle seems a bit suspicious to me, and more than now they know which Issei is alive. Now, he said Samurai to support the hypothesis about this trap. Even so, if we don't go, things are going to get ugly. Since they want Issei dead and will certainly do anything to make him dead, Neozan warned the boys. I understand. Only one of us other than Issei fenced to that meeting, Samurai, who was expecting some volunteer. I offer myself, said Delphixis. Are you sure? It can be a trap for any of us, this time, Issei warned. Then, Delphixis, if something bad happens I want you to use all your power, Samurai said. Okay, said the Blue Movie. Having finished with this conversation, the Blue Movie began to go towards the exit of the temple to go with the Grenle. But before leaving, Issei had given him something. A communicator. Asked the Blue Movie about the object. This will keep us abreast of everything. Also, if something happens that is out of your reach, I will go as fast as I can to your position to help you. I don't care if the Grenle want me dead. That's no excuse for me to help you if things get really ugly, said Issei, handing the communicator to Delphixis. Issei, you are a good friend, said this, grateful for the gift and help of his friend when he already put it in his ear. Suddenly Hollow appears, who appears in front of Delphixis, very worried about what may happen in said meeting. Brother, take good care of yourself. Yes, he said with great concern. Don't worry, Hollow. I'll be back safely, he said, stroking his head to calm him down. When he had finished the exchange of objects and the words of Hollow of his younger brother, the Blue Movie proceeded to fly away as fast as he could so as not to be late for that meeting that the Grenle had quoted, but this left a little worried Issei and worried Hollow a lot, and even stayed sitting in front of the door to wait for his return. Hollow seems to care a lot about Delphixis, Issei said of Hollow's attitude. Well, it's normal. Those two went through almost the same thing, Samurai said as he left. Change of scene, Kyo Academy Occult Club. The Grenle, the Citri and the Maoist were waiting for some of the characters he was in the battle with Grenle to show up. Rias, do you think any of them will come? Asked Surzech to his sister. Well, you invited the Moni-sama. At least one of them should come here, said Rias to the question of the Mao. And why do we have to be here? Now Sona asked why she had received a call to attend that meeting. You were also in the battle and even participated in it, so now it makes you part of this, he explained again. At the end of explaining, the door of the occult club opened, revealing a certain Blue Movie who was with arms crossed and with a cold expression. Well, I'm here, I mentioned the newly unparalleled Delphixis. Good afternoon, and welcome to Kyo Academy, said Rias very politely. Thank you, exclaimed the Blue Movie coldly. First, what's your name? Said Tsubaki. My name is Delphixis. I am one of the warriors of the Dragon Truth organization, and saying this everyone was left with a doubt about the name of the organization. Dragon Truth? Asked Serafal, curious about that name. It's a now 6-person organization that specializes in protecting a hidden people, Delphixis explained. And that people, who inhabit it? Now I asked Surzech. It would be better if we left it for another occasion since I do not want problems. Let's start, exclaimed the blue movie. After everyone knew the identity of one of the Dragon Truth, they proceeded to sit on the couches. Deltaxis was behind the wall while Rias and the others were behind the window. I'm surprised the Maoists themselves attended this, Deltaxis said, since the Maoists weren't expected to be there. I really didn't expect the evil dragons to return. If this gets out of control, chances are that the underworld will also be affected as much as the human world. We were even told that Grenle was more powerful than before. So consider this as a kind of meeting, Surzech explained. I understand. Well, where do we start? Deltaxis wanting to start the meeting. We could start with the power of Grenle, said Adjika. Very well. The reason why it was more powerful than before is because of a kind of amplifying energy that increases both defense and attack capabilities. Amplifying power? Asked Serafal. It is a kind of energy that is injected into the subject and he receives an increase in power. There are many kinds of amplifier energy. The problem is that I don't know what kind of energy I use, Deltaxis said in a serious tone. How many types of amplifier energy are there? Now Sona asked. There are many types of amplifier energy. It would take us a while trying to list all the types of this energy, answering the question of the black movie. Who do you think is behind all this? Asked Surzech. Sure, it's Kron Kruech. That dragon has always been a headache. It never stops bothering, he said with a tone of some annoyance. What do you mean? Now asked Rias. We had certain problems with him in the past. Let's say that since then we are in a long battle that who knows where it will go next, explaining the rivalry they have. Then we could consider you Dragon Truth as allies, said Tsubaki. Not exactly. At this they were a little confused. And why is that? Asked Rias again. You know that better than anyone. And if I'm not clear to you, it's because of the Securiute, said Deltaxis with a very cold tone. When saying this, some of those present get nervous and do not know what to say, but others felt sad about what happened more because they remember what happened to poor Chestnut. What relationship do you have with Issei-kun? Asked Sona. I don't want to say too much because, as I said before, we don't want unnecessary problems. But I can tell you that he is very strong. Besides that, he is someone worthy of admiration and respect. For his effort to get ahead, he said with a soft smile. The Gremmery began to feel guilty for having betrayed their partner. The Citri felt a little sad to assume that he is trying everything to forget. The Maoists still maintained posture of being strong, but Serafal had a sad look to learn of it, and not to mention Irina and Ravel, who also felt guilty for having done that. Issei. Neglect. That doesn't mean we're enemies. Maybe we need your help for what follows now. With your permission, I will retire. My little brother must be very worried to see that I have been gone for many hours, said this, proceeding to retire and closing the door. But what have I done? I'm a fool, thought Rias, putting a hand on her head, very sad. Change of scene. Golden Serpent Village. The temple. Hollow was still at the entrance of the temple waiting for Deltaxis to appear, and Issei was watching as the Platinum movie was watching and waiting for his brother to return. Samurai, is it normal for Hollow to be like this? He asked, a little scared of Hollow's attitude. Do not worry. It's just that he's not very used to his brother fencing for a long time without him, he said, as if that happens all the time. Deltaxis and Hollow are very close. It would be better if they told you later, since it's too early to say, don't you think, Samurai? Said Marcus, joining the scene. Marcus is right. It's too early for you to know, leaving the place. They really are two very special guys. Especially Deltaxis. Marcus leaving too. When the two had left, the chestnut tree proceeded to approach Hollow, who was very attentive seeing the entrance of the temple, besides that he was with a look of melancholy in his eyes that Issei did not take long to notice. Hello, it's a nice day, isn't it? Issei trying to make conversation. Yes, it's very cute, he said vaguely. Hey, calm down. Deltaxis is very smart. Surely if something happens to him he will be able to leave without any problem, trying to make him talk. Yes, now with a little worry. Seeing this, Issei was surprised by Hollow's show of concern towards Deltaxis to such an extent that he stayed at the door waiting for his return. Hollow, seriously, calm down. You don't have to be so worried about the what is Deltaxis's age? He asked to establish his point. 21, he said a little more calmly. You see, he's not a kid. He's strong and smart. He can handle anything that gets in his way. In addition to that, if something had happened to him we would have heard it from the communicator. That, I know that. But cutting before completing the sentence. But, trying to make it continue. Is that, said this, raising his head. And when he lifted it he saw in the distance a familiar figure with long blue hair and immediately recognized that it was Deltaxis, and he stood up with a big smile on his face. Hi guys, greeting as usual. Brother, I'm glad you're okay, he said, very happy to see him without a scratch. I see you had no problem with the Gremmeries. It's a relief, Issei said. Yes, but the truth is that I did not expect the Maoists to be present at the meeting. The truth is that I expected it more like a casual meeting. I explained this, removing the communicator from the ear. And tell me, what happened during the meeting? Asked Issei. Couldn't you hear it? He asked, a little surprised. No, that communicator was given to me by Samurai, but he told me that we could only listen to the conversations if you activated it, he explained to the question of Deltaxis. I understand. Then we have something to talk about. Where are the others? I asked, since I didn't see anyone else at the entrance. Samurai is in the kitchen. As for Marcus and Neazan, I have not the faintest idea of where they can be. I point out the chestnut tree. Well, I'll tell Samurai to call those two so we can talk. But I think for the time being the four of us will talk, he said. Yes, said the two in chorus. Having said this, the three entered the temple so that Delphixis tells the samurai everything that happened in the meeting. But Hollow noticed something in Issei that worried him a lot, and was that he had a worried face which did not inspire much tranquility in the neglect partner. Everything will go very well, I hope. So they went to the kitchen where the samurai was to explain everything and even give the details of what happened, and Issei was preparing for the next thing that could come. After having returned from the meeting with the Gremories, Delphixis had gone to the kitchen where the leader of the Dragon Truth, who was the samurai, was, and was there doing nothing until he saw that the blue movie had returned and told everything that happened. That was not much. I see. So that happened, replied the blonde. Yes, and apparently helped us in some battles against the evil dragons, completing what he had said. No, I have a feeling there are going to be problems. For me, said Issei, getting his friends to turn their attention to him. What do you mean? Asked Hollow, who didn't quite grasp what Issei meant. I don't know, but I have that feeling since the Gremories found out he was still alive, he answered Hollow's question. Neglect is just a feeling. I'm sure everything will work out. Also, if those Gremory put a finger on you, will see them with us, said the blonde, trying to calm the chestnut. Thank you, friends, exclaimed Issei, thought the blue movie when he had that feeling. When I had finished informing the samurai about the meeting, all these went to do what they always do in their spare time. But Issei and Delphixis still feeling that something bad was going to happen. Lefay was sitting in the mountains of the underworld with a sad face, but don't be confused. She was very happy that Issei was alive, but when she had heard of his death she was devastated, and she wanted not only to see him but she wanted to be with him. But there was a problem, and that was that I did not know where Issei was. It was more than obvious that he was no longer in Kyoto, so it would be useless to go there to see him. Where will he be now? He asked with a weave of sadness. You also want to see it, don't you? Said Kuroka, who arrived. Kuroka, if the truth is that I want to be with Issei-sama now, again with sadness. Sigh, I too would like to be with him, with sadness too. Excuse me now, said Volley, who just joined the conversation. Now what do you want, Volley? Asked Kuroka coldly this time. You want to be with Issei, don't you? He asked. The two saw him with a face of doubt at this, but they only limited themselves to moving their heads positively what the albino was asking him. But, why do you ask? Asked Lefay. You may know where Issei is, he said it as if it wasn't that important. And you, how do you know? Again asked Lefay curiously. I already knew beforehand that Issei was alive. Again he said it as if it were the most normal thing in the world. At this the girls were not only upset but furious at this, because he knew that Issei was alive and did not have the decency to say it. And why didn't you say anything? They shouted angrily and emanated a terrifying aura, and before this Volley falls to the ground but in an instant regains his composure. They were for certain reasons, he said calmly. And that's why you didn't tell us anything, said Kuroka as he grabbed menacingly the collar of his shirt. Well, I was going to say something else but was interrupted. Take us to Issei-sama, said this one as furious as Kuroka. I can't take them directly to where they are. Why? I have no idea where it is. But if I can take them where I found it, I explain. Take us now, the two together said menacingly. Very well, said this man. Having said this, a light blue magic circle appeared below them, teleporting them to where Volley saw Issei in his first phase of training. The guys were doing what they always do on their free afternoons. Delphixis was reading some book about science or fire. Hollow was asleep. Samurai was meditating. Issei was on the rooftop watching the village. Marcus was doing nothing, and Neazan was in who knows where. But from one moment to the next Issei felt a great chill that ran down his entire back. I don't know, Dreg. It kind of gave me a big chill out of nowhere. It was very strange, said Issei, who was stunned by the chill he felt all over his back. Don't worry, it was just a chill. I hope so, partner. I hope so. Then he went back to observe the wide views. Change of scene, road to the mountain. The three boys had entered the forest near Dragon Truth training camp, right on the road where Volley found Issei training. Here it is, exclaimed the albino, showing the way. Was this where you saw Issei-san? Asked Kuroka. Yes, right here. Well, he was running around, he replied, pointing to the spot where he saw the chestnut tree. Did you see him pass by? Now Lefay asked. Yes, he went on his way to that mountain, now pointing to the mountain. Very well. Now we have to locate Issei-san, Kuroka said. Then I wish you good luck, Volley said, proceeding to leave. Won't you help us? Asked Lefay. No, I have more important things to do than this. One went in a magic circle. He's an idiot, Kuroka said when Volley was already gone. Well, let's look for Issei-sama, I mentioned the blonde magician. Agreed, continued the Nekomata Black movie. The two girls went by the path that Volley indicated to them in order to find Issei, or they would try to find him since they had not seen this place before. Issei had left the top of the temple to walk for a while around the training grounds to relax because he felt a little nervous, because they felt a great feeling that something or someone was coming, but this did not help much since he was very tense. Dreg, seriously. I don't like this, said Issei very suspiciously. The truth is that this also worries me a little. Stay alert. Understood. I was still suspicious. The chestnut tree kept walking to relax and even went for a walk in the woods near the training grounds to try to clarify his ideas, but he didn't know which blonde magician was watching him. Issei-sama is alive. What a joy, murmured Lefay, very happy to see Issei. The chestnut heard the murmur and saw that it came from the bushes, so he decided to go to the bushes where he had heard it, prepared to materialize the boosted gear in case it was someone hostile. But when opening the bushes, he met the blonde magician. "Lefei?" he asked, astonished. "Issei-sama," he said when he saw Issei. "What are you doing here?" he asked again. When Lefei asked, he had lunged at Issei, making her shut up, but she hugged him very tightly. He was obviously very puzzled by the gesture, but after a few seconds it corresponded to the hug she was giving him. "Issei-sama, I thought I would never see him again. I thought he was gone forever." "How good, it's okay," he said with tears of happiness. "I see. I'm sorry I made you sad," Issei apologizing. "Never mind. You are alive, and that makes me very happy," he said, leaving aside the issue that I'm still alive. "How is Kuroka?" asked Issei for the Nekomata. "She's fine. He came with me," he said, this impressing the chestnut. "That's great. The truth is that I would like to see it now," I exclaimed this. "Well, here I am, Nyan," Kuroka said, appearing out of nowhere. Out of nowhere he felt two arms around his torso, and on his back he felt a couple of big things, but he did not give too much importance to this. When he turned around he actually saw Kuroka too close to him. "Issei-san, miss you very much. When I heard about it I couldn't believe Shiren had done that to you. But you're alive and I'm glad you are too, Nyan," she said happily. "It is okay. By the way, why are they here?" asked this, curious about the presence of both. Suddenly a silence began to be present between them. Then Lefei and Kuroka stood in front of Issei to explain the reason for their appearance in these places. "Well, the truth is that when we learned of his death, it was very sad. We thought he was gone forever," Lefei explained sadly. "And when we saw that you were alive, even I am too happy to see you." "Really, I am very cheerful," continued Kuroka. "And they came here to see how it was." "Thank you," said Issei, grateful for this. "Well, that was a part," said the blonde magician. "Heh, and what is the other party?" he asked curiously. "Well, what happens is that," Lefei with a slightly blushing face. "We want to live with you," Kuroka continued as if that were not enough. Upon hearing what Issei said he was a little surprised, as he had believed that he misheard what the Nekomata had told him. "Sorry, I think I heard wrong. Could you repeat it, Kuroka?" he said, whether to believe what he had heard. "That we want to live with you," Nyan repeated this. "But why?" asked this very bewildered man. "The truth is that we want to be sure that you will be okay. We don't want something bad to happen to you again. When we heard that you died we were devastated. It was as if something very important to us was taken from us," Kuroka said with some sadness. The chestnut tree was moved by this show of concern of the two girls until he was very happy to find two people who care about him. It is true that he had his friends the dragons, but these displays of affection were something that really gave him a warm feeling. "Well, if they want to live with me so much, I can't say no," said Issei with a soft smile. Saying this, the girls were very happy that Issei allowed them to be close to him, but a certain dragon had his doubts about Issei's decision. "You're quiet, D-Drag. I assure you that I have everything under control." Issei and the two girls walked off to the Golden Snake Village. They were very happy to be with the chestnut tree, and he was very happy to find two other friends, or so he thought. The Platinum Movie was walking around the temple trying to get bored, and when he was passing through the room where the main door was located, he saw that the door was opening, revealing the chestnut tree with two girls next to it. "Issei, welcome," he said with a smile. "Hello, Hollow," he said hello to his friend. Seeing the two guests, Hollow was a little curious because it was not normal for female visitors to come to the temple. "Hey Issei, who are your guests?" he asked when he saw them. "They are friends of mine, and they are not invited. Their tenants are going to stay here for a while," he said with a smile. Thought the two, looking away. "Well, as long as they are your friends, for me there is no problem. My name is Hollow and a pleasure to meet them," Hollow said cordially with a smile on his lips and shaking hands. "It's nice to meet you, Hollow. My name is Lefei Pendragon," he introduced himself, shaking hands with the Platinum Movie. "My name is Kuroka. It's a taste," Nyan also shaking hands. When they finished presenting the Platinum Movie and the two girls, a certain Blue Movie was walking aimlessly through the temple also while reading a book about volcanoes. However, he felt two extra presences, raised his head to see the two girls had brought Issei. When he saw Lefei he did not care much, but when he saw Kuroka he felt a lot of anger. Hollow, Issei and the girls saw that Delphixis had appeared. "Brother, we have visits." Hello, greeted Lefei with a smile. "Good morning," Nyan now greeting Kuroka. Then he turned and left with a great feeling of coldness, and that gave confusion to Issei, Kuroka and Lefei. "Delphixis, did you get angry?" asked Issei, since he hadn't seen Issei that way. "Seems it's been a long time since I saw it that way," Hollow said, worried about his older brother. "It seems that he saw me and immediately left with a lot of hatred," Kuroka mentioned. The Platinum Movie saw the place where his brother had gone and saw it with great concern, since he knew the reason for the attitude of the Blue Movie towards the Nekomata. "Well, we should tell the samurai that you have come home and explain everything to him," Issei suggested. "It's true. We have to go see if samurai accepts the one that they stay," said Hollow. Then they went to the kitchen where the masked blonde usually frequents, since he is always very hungry. The blonde was with his hand resting on his head with a bored expression until he saw Issei, Hollow and the girls, and had certain doubts about this. "Samurai, I want to ask you something," began Issei. "Sure. What's wrong?" he asked curiously. "Truth, these two girls are friends of mine. Lefei, Pendragon, and Kuroka. I wanted to ask you if you would let them stay here with us as long as they wanted. He asked this, hoping that the answer would be yes. Are you friends with Issei? The samurai asked the two girls. If we are, said these boards. Well, if they are friends of yours, Issei, then there is no problem. You can stay as long as you want, he exclaimed, rising from his post. After this the girls were very happy and the chestnut was just as happy, but Issei noticed that Hollow had a sad expression on his face. And what nobody knew is that the blue movie had heard the whole conversation and he felt a lot of fury that was very noticeable in his face. A Nekomata here. Giararar. This had to happen, he said angrily at the idea that Kuroka would stay in the house. He proceeded to go to his room very angry, but Delvixis, you really can't forget, said Marcus, making the blue movie stop. Marcus, you know better than anyone about everything. What, I can't forget that, he said sadly in his voice. Sigh, just try to be nice to her, is that okay? The violet-eyed chestnut asked her. I promise nothing, he said very coldly and retiring. Just try it please. Then this also went to your room. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.